Hi, I'm Ethan Grigolt, driver of the Evolution racing team and the Logitech G Racing Hyundai XL. Before I got into real racing, sim racing pretty much taught me everything I know when it comes to racing lines on the track, car control, racecraft around other cars, just everything to do with racing I learned on sim racing first. When I jumped into the real car, it was a bit of a wake-up call. There's a lot more sensations in a real car than you get in the sim, but once you get past that, pretty much a lot of the techniques are exactly the same, and if you're good in the sim and you're not afraid too much in the real world, you should be able to translate it easily.
When I'm driving an F1 car, steering wheel feedback is one of the most important things. It helps me decide when to brake and how hard. It's how I feel the surface of the road. Every bump in the terrain, every wheel slip. If my tyres are starting to lose grip, I can sense that immediately. When I'm driving in a sim, I need that same tactility, that level of detail I have in a real car.
Racing games have come a long way in the last 20 years. Nothing's really changed in how we approach force feedback in all that time. Cutting-edge sims are now so realistic, drivers across all disciplines are using them for training. Our main goal when designing Trueforce was to improve the number of sensations that you actually feel, to put you better in contact with the car that you're driving so that you can improve your performance and that enjoyment of driving on a track. The physical feedback needs to be more immediate or accurate, or a player loses immersion or control.
Game developers are still having to recreate their force feedback from a set library of effects instead of deriving it from real-time modelling.
Trueforce is special because it levels the playing field for PC and console gamers. You're now getting the extra level of precision and detail that you need, regardless of which platform is your choice. This is not just iteration, it's total evolution. Trueforce force feedback works differently. It hooks directly into the physics engine of the game. Games already calculate the forces on the tyres and the steering wheel. The Trueforce algorithm is able to process this data at up to 4,000 times a second. It will even use the game's audio engine and pass it directly on to the driver.
We spend a lot of time as audio designers trying to make each car sound unique and as realistic as we possibly can. Being able to integrate the audio into the force feedback is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and Trueforce enables us to do that. And the ability to send the audio to the wheel, to have it respond and vibrate with the loss of traction, really increases my ability to give that immersion to the player.
You can sense the changing surface of the road. You'll be able to feel if the back end of the car is losing grip.
The first time we had it running in the build, could feel the wheel humming and vibrating as we revved the engine. Our immediate reaction was it really adds another level of immersion.
The first thing you're going to feel with a Trueforce wheel is the engine note. The minute the engine starts in the game, you will know exactly which car you are driving. Trueforce is the beginning of something new. This is now the foundation for all wheels that we'll produce in the future. This extra level of information gives everyone all the information they need to learn how to control their car better. Trueforce benefits any racing fan looking for a more realistic driving experience.
Because winning is all about feeling.
Hello everyone and welcome to round 4 of the Logitech G Pro Invitational series. Tonight, 50 laps of the fastest action of the series so far, along with some changeable conditions which could make things interesting. After all the dramas of the opening 3 rounds, we now have a clear leader in Jared Filsell. This race though could bring us anything with these conditions, and to call all the action, we welcome Jack Blackall and Stephen Sandman-Clark. The temperature is up on this one and so is the speed. Hopefully you guys can keep up with all the drama ahead.
I'm sure we will, Priya. I think it's going to be one of those crazy races, a lot of strategy, a lot to play out. 50 laps around here, the beautiful Monza for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational for round 4 of the Championship Series. I am Jake Blackall, joining me, Stephen Sandman-Clark, and Sandman. We're going to be in for a cracker. There's a lot to talk about coming into this one, and I'm sure the race is going to have a lot to talk about too.
Absolutely. Good evening, Jake. Good evening, everyone, wherever you're watching around Australia or even around the world. Mate, I'm looking forward to this. There's so many different things that can play out as far as the way racing takes place around Monza. We talk about how crucial the slipstream is and how about you can save fuel around this joint. So these guys have got their work cut out from them. Like you said, it's hot. So these guys are going to be really cautious about their driving styles. It'll be interesting to see how they approach this race.
Yeah, it is a scorcher out there at Monza right now. 58 degrees track temp. That is hot. These tyres are not going to last long, which is actually going to play a massive strategy point. 50 laps around here, 2 compulsory pit stops tonight. That's a big thing to try and manage for 50 laps is the tyres. Fuel will be not really an option in terms of they can save so much as well, so there's a lot in that can play out, Sandman, in terms of strategy. Some of these guys, especially off of last week at Austria, where it was a little bit more of a strategy with the safety cars, this could be more about just sitting in the tow for a long green flag run.
Yeah, and we've also heard a lot of talk about tyre degradation here too, so that'll be something that'll be playing on their minds, where how aggressive you want to be, because you need to look after those tyres, because that ideally will get you a decent finish in the end. You know, tyres will win you a race every single time, so looking after them and making sure you've got a ticket towards the end is key.
Yeah, exactly, and that's one of those things that these guys have been looking for, that ticket to the end, those last 10 laps. We talk about it at Bathurst, but I think tonight you're going to be wanting to be in that battle towards the end. We know it's going to be crucial in those last final laps. If you've got the tow, if you're in that lead pack, you can make something happen. And going on that, we'll look at the championship standings with Jared Filsell. He's currently on top of the points with a little bit of a decent gap back now to his closest rival, and that is Ethan Warren. Jake Burton, as we don't actually have the updated standings for the stream, apologies about that, but Ethan Warren second, with Burton, Maloney and Hampstead sitting in 5th position. Griffin Gardner, Josh Anderson, Brady Myers, Tom Freer and Jordan Ross round out the top 10 at the moment, but it's roughly a 50-point gain that Filsell has coming into this, and that's a bit of a cushion that he can play back on tonight.
Absolutely. It takes the pressure off him a little bit too, because ideally you don't want to have a bad night, but he knows that if he doesn't have the best of nights, I mean, looking at the time so far in practice, he's up the top. But yeah, if his night doesn't go his way, it's not really the end of the world. It's nice to have that little bit of a buffer up his sleeve.
And that's one of the things we're talking about with Madison Down. He's currently 13th in the standings. He missed that whole opening round. Now he's trying to claw his way back into it. So he's been doing a good job as we look at Brenton Hobson. Last 6 minutes of practice out here tonight before we head into a 20-minute qualifying session. 1 lap, I think, is all these guys are going to have. The tyres are going to be gone after 1 lap. So it's going to be the 1 lap out, come back in. But the one thing we've got to talk about, the draft. These guys, I think, will be trying not to go out first, Sam, and we could see a bit of that F1 Monza, a little bit of a skirmish of who wants to lead and who doesn't.
Yeah, a bit like we were joking about before the broadcast went to air, a bit like the peloton in the Tour de France. Yeah. You know, no one wants to lead, everyone wants to just sort of sit there. So, but I mean, everyone will have that gameplay in their head. You know, do they want to be that person that sits in the train and doesn't want to lead? There's going to be people out there that do want to. And of course, when you do run the risk of running out front, I mean, you've got that chance of using more fuel, but you can also predict the pace of the race a little bit, because if everyone's keen to stay behind you, if you're backing off, they're going to back off too. So I'm keen to see how it all plays out.
Qualifying, I think, will be key, and you want to be in that leading 10, I should say, that's up, get in the middle of the pack, and you're in that danger zone. a lot of accidents that can happen here. Well, Endurance Championship on the weekend, there were some feisty moments there, and we've seen some moments in F1 here, obviously into turn 1 chicane, into the Rettifilio chicane. So there's multiple areas that anything can go wrong here. We look at Brenton Hobson on a lap, most probably just cruising around, seeing what he's up to right now. He's no improvement on that time, so he's still going to sit 9th. But SSR, amazing job last week, coming home with a 1, 2, 3. They'll be looking to do the same thing again tonight.
Absolutely. How stoked. That always puts a bit of pep in your step too. When you walk away from a race and the talent that you look up and down the field in this Logitech G Pro Invitational, there's plenty of great drivers, but when your team can perform and do a 1, 2, 3, that's huge. So good on to them. They're no doubt will be pumped after that, and a little bit of pep in their step for this round, no doubt.
Exactly, and there's a couple of them up the top with Phil Sell and Ross straight away back up the top. Kostecki's not up there at the moment. Sean McNamara currently in 23rd on an outlap, and that's what a couple of these people do. You see a lot of outlaps on the timing charts on the left. They are rolling around, going to get a final sim practice in of that qualifying run. They need to make sure they're perfect. There's a lot of areas that can go wrong here in terms of off tracks. They're just getting a little bit too much on the track and costing you a lot of time here, Sam, man. I think that's one of those things that they need to focus on. We talked about the banker last week, but there's so many chances we can go wrong, but you can gain it all back in the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that you talk about that outlap too, because a lot of people put some thought into that, because you don't want to get, especially with days like today, you know, we're talking about 58 degree track temperature. So you want to look after those tyres even before you start your lap. So those outlaps will be crucial, but then also being wary of the clock too, knowing that you've only got X amount of time left before the session starts. You'll get your lap down, but then you'll push as hard as you can to get back, just to put a new set of Dunlops on.
That's exactly right. You gotta factor that into your strategy game, especially with the outlap and the in-lap. You can't just park it, and as you see in practice, some of these guys parking in and coming back to the pit lane. No, you have to drive around. You have to waste another 2 minutes of the time. So there's not going to be that many chances. They get maybe 5, or actually be less than that, maybe 4 to 3 runs at it, Sam, man, that they could actually get a decent lap in. So you're going to be banking on your first one actually a lot of the time, more often than not.
Yeah, that's crucial every week, isn't it? Just making sure you get a decent banker. Obviously helps if it's a great one and you put down a smoking time, but if you put a half decent lap in, it really takes the pressure off the rest of your session too. So those guys will be mindful of it. That's probably something that they've been thinking about, you know, coming into this round. And of course, we look at that chicane. Everyone's going to be thinking about that first corner chicane too, as everyone barrels into there for the first time.
First corner, lap 1, usually that's the chicane you don't want to be heading into, but tonight these guys are heading into the famous Monza chicane, and this track, there's so many talking points that we can go along, so many areas that this track is going to be crucial for these guys tonight. As Kostecki on one of his final runs before the qualifying session, just under 2 minutes left in this session, and what a result for him last week, battling it out with Jared Filsell. Took the win. Filser didn't need to fight him too hard over it, but he did a good job to get the job done.
That's it. And he did a good job. That's the main thing you bring to the table. As much as our teammates, they were having a red hot go, and it was good to see Brody get up there and give the win, or get the win, I should say, and take it off Jared. But really good racing, and what is he? He's back in 11th at the moment, but probably nothing to worry about too much until we get to quali, which is only just over a minute's time.
Just over a minute, and he did not like that lap. Gonna park it up, maybe see if he won't get another one out, but he will just rest it up and get ready for that qualifying session. And the practice times, you can go off them, but you can't go off them. So many people will have different terms of laps in terms of, did they get a draft? Did they not get a draft? Are they focusing on that draft lap? Are they focusing on race pace? There are so many different variables in that 1 hour practice session before that you don't really know where anyone stands. We look at Ben Smith and the Evolution Racing team just inside the top 10 at the moment, and he'll be coming up to start his final lap. Obviously not enough time to finish where he's had, as Marcelo Rivera, who's done a really good job. He showed brilliances of his pace at Winton, didn't he, Sam, man? Currently sitting 3rd again. We can go a little bit off practice results, but at the moment, he's doing a good job up there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it hasn't been just a fluke for that one lap. We noticed in the session earlier that his times are up there too. So it's obviously a track that he gels with, and it's good to see. So no doubt he'll be keen to get qualifying started, as we're only sort of 10 seconds away.
Yeah, these guys just parking up, getting ready, getting the mind state right for this qualifying session for round 4 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational here from Monza. It's going to be chaos, I think, coming out of the pit lanes there, man. We're going to see 40 V8 Supercars funnel out of that pit lane, and no one want to go first.
That's exactly right. It'd be one of the coolest places to stand, wouldn't it? Just on that pit wall, just seeing all those cars roar out. I mean, we see it every week. It's all about track position and making sure you've got a clear bit of racetrack in front of you because you want to make the most of that while you put down a time. So as we quickly look at the times for practice, as we head into qualifying, Jarrah Fieldcell top of the time sheets for Jordan Ross, and we see Marcelo doing a great job for this round. But here we go. The cars are rolling out of pit lane.
And here comes the train, 40 cars to get ready for this qualifying session. And it's just a flurry and no one's taking it fast. And we said that you don't want to burn that tyre up in this outlap. The tyres are so critical to heat, especially in iRacing. You over-temp them in terms of heat just that little bit and your run could be gone. So these guys will be rolling around, no one going over the blend line because they know they can't. And look at that, it is just a big snake.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't see too many superheroes at the moment, but keen to see how it all plays out. They obviously give each other plenty of room. It's one of those things that if you're down in the middle or towards the end of the pack, you just let them go and just run your own sort of pace. But then the guys up the front, as you can see, is Richie Stanaway on screen. So he's keen to get out and get some clear air, so that's going to work out nice for him for the start.
Yeah, looking like he's going to be the one out in front as the race director just giving him a little bit of a heads up about the lines and the white line on the entry and the front stretch should say that they've just got to be mindful of because of cars coming out of that pit lane. That's going to be a crucial point as well, Sam, man. If you're side by side with someone down that front straightaway, that merge lane is right on the inside of the racing line. So if someone goes for a dive down to turn one, there's not a lot of room there. So obviously race director just going over and making sure they don't do that in qualifying because there's another 50 laps they've got to get through as well.
Absolutely, and it's crucial too, as like you said, if you're side by side, racing each other for the win, coming towards that chicane, and you see someone coming out of pit lane, the last thing you want to do, you ideally want that inside line, but not if someone's coming out of that pit lane. It's a bit tight there on exit, but no doubt that's something that they'll think about, and it's good to see that race control have just reminded them about it.
Just letting them know, giving a little bit of a heads up. And we saw this last 2 weeks, with Richie Stanaway led the train at the Red Bull Ring. He's doing the same thing again. Now we're at the back of the track, obviously after a scurry chicane, that little bit of a back straight, you want to call it, before they come into the Parabolica. And he's still leading. I thought he may have pulled over and let the guys go, but he's actually going to pull these guys along. Got Luke Mitchinson in behind him, and I think that was Sean McNamara as well behind them. So he's going to lead them around for the first lap, and this is where it's go time. No practice, all the practice that you've done, it all comes down to this, start of qualifying.
Absolutely, and look at the time clock in the left-hand corner. It's already 2.5 minutes gone out of this 20-minute session. These guys, no one has even banked this. They're only just starting their laps now. So that's, like we spoke about earlier, that's going to be crucial. But it'll be interesting to see all these guys look at them trying to get that toe too, because that's going to be really key around here as well.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Nearly 3 minutes gone, and some of these guys haven't even put a lap down, let alone start a lap. That is huge. So maybe 3 runs in this session these guys could get. So they really need to make sure this first one is decent, put a number on the board, otherwise you're going to be stressing for the rest of this session. Stanaway going to be the first one to go through the traps at the end of that first sector. Obviously he will be purple, then I reckon the guys behind will be setting quicker ones. It's a little bit close. Luke Mitchinson, I think that's Sean McNamara, is right behind him, and that's not where you want to be because you can't get the benefit of the toe for the majority of the lap.
That's it. It's catch-22, isn't it? You want to be close for the draft, but you don't want to be too close where the guy in front might be holding up. If you've got a little bit more corner entry speed, the last thing you want to do is get held up by someone in front of you. So it's catch-22 about keeping the draft and having that space just so you can make them speed through the corners.
Yeah, you're still going to get that toe benefit, but then when you get to the end of it, you're going to have to lift and roll out. There's a tenth, maybe half a tenth that you lose just in a little bit of a lift that you could actually gain because you had the draft. There's so many different times that you can gain in the draft, but at the moment he's not doing too bad as they come out the scurry chicane for the first time, and then we'll get some indicative times up on the board. That's one of the areas you can get an off track running wide all the way out on that scurry chicane. What a shot to see the cars coming through there.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. This is going to give us some sort of indication now that these guys come around in this final turn. You can see Richie, he'll be the first of the cars to place down a time. It'll be interesting to see what he's done. They were doing sort of mid-48s in practice, so this first lap will give you some sort of indication of what sort of pace they've got.
Stanaway to the top with a 49.8, and that is quickly eclipsed Hayden Harrison, who was the last car in that train, 49.2. Ethan Grigault to the top for Evolution Racing Team, 48.7. This is where it's going to be. Warren to the top. Burton goes P2. So Warren on a 48.5. That's another good job from Ethan Warren, straight out the box to get that job done. The times are going to tumble here. the end of the first run. Nothing in it between himself and Jake Burton. At the moment, I think that's going to be pretty much a couple of other cars coming across the line right now as they're going to come across and finish their laps. But no, down goes up into P number 3. Good job from Madison Down.
Absolutely, and this is these guys back further in the pack that they've had that tow. They've now, looks like the entire field's managed to get one lap under their belt. So now it's dart back to the pits as quick as you can because you don't need these tyres anymore. Fire back there, put on the new set of Dunlops and try again.
And there was no Philsell or Kostecki in that run, so unsure as to what happened between those two. They are on an outlap, so they maybe tried to offset themselves to try and see what they can do in terms of by themselves, as Chris Coxhead coming around the final corner to finish off his lap to see where he's going to go in this session. But it's just one that actually is Brent Loxton. Sorry that they both have the same livery. Sometimes the only difference is the number as they come across the finish at 27th for Chris Coxhead and just behind 28th for Brett Loxton. So those two tow together, join the same row.
So now it's interesting to see how these guys that have gone sort of against the flow of what the rest of the field is. That these teams will be on fresher tyres and they'll be having a go. Then you're going to have people coming out of pit lane. So it's always a bit of a nail biter sometimes when you go off strategy to what the rest of the field is. But obviously they've all got a game plan. They know how they want it to play out. Now they're just got to make it happen.
That's right, just got to make it happen, and it's the hardest bit, making it happen in a session with 38 other cars that want to have their own idea. They want to do what they want to do, so it's going to be interesting to see how these guys sort of play it and move themselves around and get their positions. A couple of people who didn't set a time, Josh Thomas, Jared Philsell, Sebastian Flock, Ian Ford, Brody Kostecki, Wayne Burke and Brady Myers as well. There's a couple of guys that, especially Brady Myers, obviously round one, you expect him to be up the top, and that's the pit entry for you. We'll be talking about that as well. It's one of those ones that catches up really quick.
You see that tyre barrier on the left there, that sticks out a little bit too, so I reckon that caught him by surprise. It got my attention, that's for sure, but you can see straight in, new set of tyres and straight back out again.
Yeah, no waiting. They don't have time. 7 minutes gone in this session segment. They will get 3 runs. Halfway, they're only going to get 3 runs. We know we're looking at, it was roughly 3 minutes before majority of the field got their first lap started. So you're looking at 3 runs. You might squeak a 4th in. If you know on this lap you've already got the banker in, especially some of those guys up near the top, if you've already got that lap stand, man, and you off track it, you dirty it, you know you're losing time, you may as well pull in and reset and go again.
Absolutely. I think as a spectator, I like these short quality. Look at that train there. Look how slow they're going. They're just like, you know what? We're not going to burn anything up yet. We're going to save that for the hot lap. But yeah, as a spectator, I love the short quali sessions. I'm tripping out about how slow they're going. Even though we expected it, we spoke about it. But yeah, as a spectator, it's good these short ones. But as a driver, it's a bit nerve-wracking, isn't it? You know, you've only got maybe 2 or 3 chances to get the job done.
It's very nerve-wracking. And look at these guys. And Philsell and Kostecki are on laps and they're coming. This is where they should be here right about now. Here they come. There's a bunch of cars in the way. Oh, this is going to be messy. This is going to be messy. We spoke about this at Red Bull Ring. Anderson's going to move over. Oh, he's done well, but these guys not on good laps, and no wonder why. They're all 3 wide into Lesmo. That's not where you want to be going.
No, and look, at the end of the day, these guys are trying to do the right thing, but I know as a driver myself, when you've got people moving out of the way, even if they do a good job, it still plays on your mind and it's a big distraction. So they're doing good, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much it affects their times on this lap.
Got the room now. Look at everyone on the left.
It's like Talladega, isn't it?
It's literally Talladega. They've all moved over. They've done a really good job. I've got to give the field that. They did a tremendous job to let those two go through, because that could have ended in a massive accident for multiple cars, and you can't reset until you get back to the pits. So
have a look at that. Sorry to interrupt, but Jared's put in a purpose, even though he's had to thread through all that traffic. So that's good.
No, awesome, George. We expect that. Do we expect that? I don't know. It's Monza. Anything can happen, but Jared is getting the tow benefit from Kostecki. Let's see what they can do as they come across the stripe. Where is this going to put them? Kostecki on all greens. Philsell with that purple middle. Where's this going to put him? Kostecki goes 4th. Philsell should be quicker, and there it is, straight to the top. Not by much, though. 0.06 separates him and Warren at the top.
Yeah, and that's all he needed. He put in a good purple sector there, as we mentioned, but he got that little bit of tow there from Kostecki out of that last corner, and no doubt that was crucial. Nothing in it between those guys, but really good to benefit from that. They obviously had their work cut out, because look at all this traffic that they had to feed through. So well done to them, and well done to everyone in the field that actually got out of their way.
That's right. To think about that, though, we saw there was a couple of moments where you maybe, as a driver, and you've said it yourself, I definitely can vouch for it, where you have a little hesitation because there's a car there that you don't really want there, especially on a lap where you're putting 110% in to get the lap out of it. There could be a couple of tenths on the table there for Phil Sell, especially Kostecki. He didn't have a toe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just and see, so here we are just after the 10-minute mark, and they're all having their second crack at it.
Yeah, you're going to get a third run, maybe a fourth. It depends on what some of these guys are going to do. The Evolution Racing team leading this train at the moment as we ride on board with Ethan Grigol currently in 6th position. Right up behind us. A little bit sideways there for Ian Ford, but controlled and able to get the run down into the first of the Scarish game.
Just trying to have a look at the times too. It doesn't look like anyone's setting the world on fire as far as sector times, but this will all play out towards the end of the lap where these guys get their little bit of toes now. So all they need to be is there or thereabouts, and you can make so much time with this draft.
That's right, and it's not about lighting the timesheet up, because when you look at how close everything is, separates the top 4. There's not much in it where you can just fit into that gap if you gain a tenth or two, especially with the draft, especially with these Evolution Racing team. They would have organised this so perfectly for themselves. Brad Ryan, Ian's Fords ran right, so they backed out of it. They know they're not going to set a good lap time. Well, that actually hurt Ethan Grigol. Did anyone get back in front of him? No, so he lost the draft to the line. Is that going to be an improvement? It is. It moved himself up into P3.
Just trying to see, there's a couple of purple sectors back there further. Myers jumped up to 6th place. Maloney now, he's got 8th. So you can see the times all switching around now. So
run into 5th. As Down goes 2nd, not much up the top. Good time from Madison Down as well. It's got a good run there to get that one. But Dylan Rudd light up my screen. He's currently 6th at the moment.
That's brilliant. And look at the times too. There's like a 10th for the top 7. That's brilliant.
That's awesome. And there's Myers as well in 7th. We know he didn't get a good first run, so he got a good second lap in there, puts himself inside that top 10, and Gilliam Kostecki had that first run where we thought was pretty decent, was sitting, 4th at the time. He's now 9th.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll do the switcheroo now. Jared's put down a decent lap. I reckon Jared will be the one breaking the air maybe for Kostecki, because he's got himself a decent time. Even if he does maybe, if he doesn't put down another decent time, if he loses pole, it'll only be by nothing. So he'll still be within reach of pole position, you would imagine. So, yeah, hopefully they play a little bit of the teamwork structure and do a bit of role reversal now.
I suspect they will, that they will do a little bit of role reversal and get going on that. But again, who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Kostecki or Phil Sell try and find someone else that they can just tow off a little bit to get that little bit of an advantage for themselves. So let's see what happens there. But at the moment, Phil Sell down, Warren Grigol and Jake Burton, who we just were looking at currently in 5th. Josh Anderson down in 19th position in the Cool Drive entry. He won't be happy with that. Obviously not a good run so far for him, sitting down in 19th, half a second off the top and in 19th. It's one of those days, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's brilliant when you look at the stopwatch to see what the field is, and then you think, that time's not too bad, but it doesn't put you anywhere near the top 10. So it's like, crap, but that's all right. He'll have another go at it. He's at pit lane or pit entry now, just about, so he'll go again, and hopefully he can improve on that time, jump the order a little bit.
Griffin Gardner as well, as we watch on board with him, look on board with him. He is currently in 11th position at the moment. He is on an outlap, as you can see. A couple of these guys on outlaps, a couple of these cars coming back into pit lane. So these cars getting set, ready to go again. It looks like the 2 Boost Mobile cars are ahead of that train. It looks like the 2 Van Devil cars are there as well, Burton and Gardner. So there's a couple of SSR cars, I think, in between them. So here comes another train, Sandman, and they're going to have to contend with all these guys that have just lit up the screen with pit exit.
Absolutely. It's good to see. I was just looking to see Burton on screen, but good to see him in the top 5 at the moment. He hasn't had the best of races for the last couple, but it's good. After that great round 1 that he had, obviously it didn't all go to well at the end of the race, but he was there or thereabouts for the entire race. Look at this into the first turn.
That's done.
Yeah, that's it. That's the breaker. That's hard work.
And that's 3-4 minutes of your life gone in qualifying. You don't have 3 to 4 minutes to waste. So now he's going to go all the way back around. I wonder if Gardner got through. We didn't see whether Griffin Gardner got through. Look at these. There was nowhere else for him to go. Looks like Gardner maybe got through and got clean. So he's going to try and tow around his teammate. But it's just unfortunate for that. So a little bit of a track limit breach between cars 96 and car 115. So I'll have to read on board with that maybe later and see what the go is with that. But that's not something you want. There could be penalties for that for the race.
Yeah, geez, you're heartbroken for Burton. You know, these guys trying to do their absolute, but look at it, almost at a standstill here, just trying to let the cars through. But this is where it's tricky because, you know, the clock's still counting down. We're 5 minutes remaining in this session. These guys are still trying to make it round just to get their starting lap. So they're doing the best they can, but geez, it's hard work when you're trying to go that slow around the track and you've got fast cars coming around you.
Look at these guys on the inside of Lesmo 1-2. There was a couple of cars there stood still, but Phil Sell, like you said, is there. There they are. It's wow. Ross. I can't tell who the car. I think it's Warboys behind him as well as it is like Warboys. They're just literally at a standstill. As we had a quick flick, it was Phil Sell and Kostecki were at the front. Kostecki has set a good fourth sector time. It is purple, but he's a fair way behind Phil Sell. Phil Sell sort of left him for dead in the dust, and he's pitting. So. No improvement. They're all pitting. I think Stanaway was behind him too, so I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in as he's current. No, he can finish his lap. He was 29th. Richie Stanaway. It's going to be another drive through the field again for him.
Yeah, looking at the clock, it'll be very close for him to get out and have another one. But he'll probably have another go. But whether he'll have the goodness left in his tyres like these guys, hopefully a little bit more clearer track for him. Just now it's these guys. These guys are just trying to fend for themselves, find a little bit of clear air. You can see him jostling a little bit. They want to hook up with a fast guy, but man, have a look at it. Geez, I'm glad I'm in the commentary box. Have a look at this.
This is getting it. No one wants to lead. No one wants to go first now, and they know this is their last run. This is their last run at it, and no one wants to go first. So we now have basically a rolling start on the backstretch for qualifying, side by side down the backstretch. They need to start sorting themselves out because if people come through on quick laps, they're slowly sorting themselves out. They decided to roll the dice and go, I'll go first, I guess.
Well, there's drivers that'll be looking for each other, teammates as well. They'll know each other's driving styles, and you want to be someone. You want to find someone that's about the same or you know, as equal to you, so you can get through the corners as quick as you can, but use each other's draft as well. So, man, that's hairy, isn't it? When they almost all come to a standstill on that back straight, just jostling for position. But now they've got to do it. They've got to make that lap count.
And there's only 3 minutes left, so this will be their last lap. They will not get another one after this. They have to, unless they go again on the tyres. But with the way the track temp is, it's basically a one lap and done scenario. So these guys are all on their last final hot laps to get any improvement in this qualifying session for round 4 of the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational. Hobson from SSR, that's one of them already out, rolling out of there. One of those guys rolling out off the racing line, so no fault for anyone there as we come into the first chicane. Looking at Luke Rosella, another one of those SSR cars, and they'll be wanting to move themselves higher up, 17th at the moment for himself.
Just having a look at the timesheets, doesn't look like anyone's setting some purples yet, but we've seen, as we spoke about this earlier, it was always towards the last.
Oh, they're on the apex.
There's carnage there. There's been huge contact there. That's Harrison.
Yeah, Harrison sitting on the apex of Lesmo 1. A couple of cars got caught out by that, and there was Gardner there too, so there might be some penalties in there. There he's rolled out of it. Oh, this was a mess. We know a couple of these cars were on quick laps. The TTR cars were definitely, I know some of the ERT cars were in that bunch too, and it's just that, yeah, you can't stop right there. That's an apex, especially if someone wants to run that line. He's tried to get going because he thought there was a gap. Bang! That was Luke Rosella. We were watching Luke Rosella and he got him right in the door, and that'll be his lap gone too. Rosella won't get another chance. As soon as you get any car contact, any off tracks, that's done.
Man, that's hard. You can't stop on the apex of a corner. That's, no. Yeah, I think the officials may step in and say something about that. Unbelievable. That's a bit of that's such bad luck for the guys behind him. Bad luck, absolutely nothing to do with it.
No, nothing to do with it. Couldn't do anything about it. So I'm sure there will be a little bit of a slap on the wrist, as they say, for parking on the apex. But these guys now getting ready to do their final laps, and that will be the two Boost Mobile Commodores. They've got a little bit of a draft train in front of them too. So this is what I was saying as well, Sam, man. If one of them can latch onto someone that they can get a tow off, they can both get a benefit and still hopefully both improve.
Yeah, looking like those guys might feel something that made up big ground on the brakes too. So looks like they've only got one more car in front of them, but that little bit of tow will help through here. It just depends on if it goes on for the rest of the lap and sort of what other traffic they come across too.
Yeah, I saw Ian Ford had lit up the first sector. It was purple. He's rolled out of it, so something must have made a mistake into that first chicane. So he's out of his lap. down, no purples, no personal best for him either, so no improvement currently. 0.015 off of pole for Madison down, not much in it, but it doesn't look like he's improving this lap so far, Sam.
Mate, it's so close that it's almost, if you turned your head and just sneezed, you'd probably get that extra little bit of time and probably grab pole position. But man, so close. He hasn't got anyone to draft with him in front of him, so it's all going to come down to see how quick he is through this turn. But it's probably going to be pretty tough if he hasn't got a drafting partner.
Yeah, I think that'll be pretty much where he will stay, will be P2 unless someone eclipses him at the moment. Got one of the SSR, I believe that's Jack Boyd, behind him. And then it is Ethan Griggold. So let's see if those two can improve. Ethan Griggold, he's had the pace to maybe improve. Currently sitting fourth, so there's definitely a chance to do that. The checkered flag is out, and we'll see what they can do as they come around the Ethan Griggold sideways. That's not going to help his lap. That's done, and as he brings it back into pit lane. So that's the end of their sessions, and a bunch of other cars coming down too. Let's see, does anyone light up the timing sheets? A couple of personal bests, but no one on that super fast lap to take pole.
Griffin Gardner, maybe. I think he looked like he had a purple first sector.
I have to see where he's further in the depth. A couple of these cars coming in. Griffin Gardner, here he is now. It's coming out of the last corner. No, he's done too. So no improvement for these guys on their last 5 laps. I think just traffic.
Yeah. I tell you what, it was hold your breath stuff, was there, for a few of those guys, but looks like they've all aborted. They've pretty much run and won, and looks like it's going to be Phil Sell for the pole.
I think it will be. A couple of these guys coming across. I don't think anyone else, as this is Ian Ford that we look at, did set the best first sector of the session. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to continue, made a mistake, looks like, into that first chicane, and he is done as well. There's a couple of other cars on laps, Jack Boyd, Ethan Warren, Brenton Hobson, but these guys could just be finishing up and bring it back to pit lane. So I think that would be that. I think it is Jared Filsell going to be on pole again. Here, I believe he's got a pole. So Jared Filsell, once again on pole. Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational for round 4 here at Monza.
And how close are the times? Ridiculously close. That was really good. We saw how crucial the draft was and how much jostling there was on track just to get that position and that run at a time. So hats off to everyone. I'm glad I'm not in the steward's box at the moment, and we'll leave that up to them. I don't know if there'll be any penalties that come from it, but nevertheless, it's never great, but that's the circumstances. We've got it behind us, and now we can look forward to 50 laps.
Now we've got to look forward to the big strategy game that is going to be had for this one. There is a lot to think about going into this race. Fuel, tyres, how does the draft play effect? Who makes a mistake? The slowdowns, we haven't mentioned it at all. Because it's sort of been a little bit more lenient recently in terms of iRacing. The slowdowns can cost you so much. If you get a slowdown on lap 1, it's done, as that is officially the end of the session, and we'll run through those results for you. Jared Filsell, the pole man here for round 4 of the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational, not by much over Madison Down, with Ethan Warren and Ethan Griggold, the two Ethans on row number 2. Still less than a 10th behind is Jake Burton, and Dylan Rudd with an awesome job to finish himself up in P6. A 10th back in your 7th, and that's Brady Myers with Jake Maloney, Jordan Ross, and Brady Kisecki, the rest of your field on your screen. As what a session, Sam, man. And yeah, slowdowns could be a big factor that we talked about on lap 1 too. Yeah,
absolutely. It's easy to outbrake yourself and just catch yourself or lock a brake and carry too much speed into one of those chicanes. And yeah, slowdowns could be crucial. And we touched on how much the draft is beneficial here. If you lose a drafting partner, it's easy to lose that track position.
Yeah, it's so critical to make sure that you get that first lap clean, stay in the draft, and then worry about the second lap. You don't need to make a mistake after that. You don't lose as much, I should say, if you make a mistake after that. As we get ready to start the grid walk, and the first man, Sam Man, we'll be talking to is our pole sitter, none other than Jared Filsell.
Congratulations, Jared. Perfect start to the round. Starting from pole position. You had your work cut out for you. Pretty close for those top few spots.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was a pretty intense quali session, that one. Yeah, I completely stuffed up my first lap, so I was out of sequence, and yeah, I don't think I've ever been so undercommitted for a pole lap in my life, having to worry about so many cars on the race line. So yeah, I was surprised to get that one.
Mate, we saw that you were out of sequence and we wondered if that was just a bit of a strategy, because sometimes it can work for you, but it can work against you, especially when you've got so many cars that are out of strategy when they start their out lap. You're normally on a hot one.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely had to watch out for people coming in behind us and having to worry about the guys in front as well. Ideally, you don't want to be in that situation, but yeah, I think I'd rather be lapping by myself than having to worry about and jostling for position and going like 50 k's an hour. It gets a bit ridiculous at times.
Yeah, we noticed that. That was a bit of a hairy few moments there in quali. But now that we've put that behind us, how do you approach turn one? Obviously, there's a lot of talk about how much carnage there could or could not be heading into that first chicane. How much does that play on your mind, and how do you prepare yourself to battle with that?
Oh, I think I'm in the safest spot, don't I? I'd rather not be in the middle of the pack. Yeah, traditionally there has been a bit of a bingle, but yeah, hopefully it's pretty clean tonight. All the guys are pretty sensible on lap one. Normally, these guys operate at a pretty high level, so yeah, hopefully we get through lap one, turn one cleanly.
Right, all the best. We'll let you go. We'll let you prepare for the start of the race, but good luck, and hopefully we'll talk to you at the end of the night.
Thanks, mate.
I'll head over to you now, Jake. You look like you've gone next door and talked to Madison Down.
That I have gone to talk to Madison Down, a TTR driver, and Madison, what a result here to come away with a second in qualifying. Now you got to look forward to another 50 laps around here. Tell us about how that qualifying session was, because it looked chaotic from where we were standing.
Yeah, there was a bit going on with all the draft trains and whatnot, but very happy to get a front row start. Been a little bit practice limited this week, so to kind of throw together a setup last night and just before in the practice there and put the thing on the front row, I'm over the moon with that. So yeah, interesting to see what our race pace is like. It's a complete unknown for us at TTR. We really haven't done a lot of running, so I don't know, a bit of nervous excitement, I guess, and we'll see how it pans out.
A little bit of excitement, a little bit of nervousness heading into you love that. It's a great mix to head into a 50-lap race here, especially with all these guys behind you. How do you think your strategy in terms of, obviously you haven't done a lot of race running, but are the tyres just so hot out there, 58 degrees track temp? Are the tyres just falling off where it's basically just straight run in and done, and then you just got to manage that? Or is the tyres holding on quite long?
Yeah, well, from what I have done, the drop-off in the first 5 laps looks to be really big. I'm hoping after that it plateaus quite a bit and we see, a smooth, clean driving style rewarding you with keeping the temperature down and hopefully holding onto the tyres. I think we're going to see some pretty long stints here, so a little bit of an unknown for us. We haven't done a full race run to practice, but certainly from my driver's seat is going to be trying to keep the temperature as low as I can, particularly in the rear tyres, to try and get them to hold on.
Yeah, definitely the rears are going to be the limiting factor around here, as we should say. But congratulations, stunning lap, put yourself P2. Good luck for the race, and hopefully it all goes clean for you out front.
Thanks, guys. Chat to you after.
Thank you. And that was Madison Down, our outside front row sit-up for TTR in the Holden Commodore. And Sam, man, you'll be with Luke Rosella, who is starting P number 17.
Yeah, made my way down a little bit further down the middle of the grid. Luke, how are you feeling, mate? You're right in the thick of it here. Obviously, you had a little bit of drama there with qualifying. That would have been a bit nervous and nerve-wracking the way it all played out.
Yeah, not exactly where I want to start, to be honest, right in the middle. Qualifying wasn't really ideal. Didn't get the best lap out. But we got a good race car. The Wave Rider Ford I reckon it's gonna be pretty good on tyres. So we'll see where we end up at the end of it. It's gonna be good.
Now, how much has the start of this been playing on your mind, mate, as all these cars barrel off into the first chicane? Is that something that you've been mindful of, and how do you approach that?
Oh, of course. Everyone races in real life here. Yeah, the turn one's always a bit tricky to navigate with all the cars. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully everyone's nice and sensible. But just got to keep my wits about me, and hopefully we can get out from the other side.
And has tyre deg been a concern for you, mate? I know the track temperature's up a little bit. It's not ideal, but is that something that you've sort of focused on a little bit coming into this round for Monza?
Oh, for sure. Like you said, the track temp, the deg's going to be really, really bad. So, yeah, we've been working for a few days now. Getting the deg, nice and good. So, I reckon we should be pretty good on tyres. But you never know what happens in racing. So we'll give it our best shot.
All right, mate. Well, all the best. Good luck. Midfield. I love racing, but I think I'm thankful I'm in the commentary box tonight. But all the best, and hopefully that race car's good to you. You get through turn 1 nice and clean, and we're talking to you at the end of the night.
Thanks, mate.
There you go. That's Luke. He's got his work cut up for him in the middle of the field. Jake, it looks like you've caught up with Ian down there. He's just a tiny bit further down the pack.
Yeah, I'm caught up with Ian Ford and 40. I don't want to be talking to you down this far down the end of the grid, but here we are. Unlucky on that last run. Tell us about your qualifying session, because you set up a fastest first sector in that last run.
Our qualifying session went semi to plan without the couple of off tracks and things, but it's like Ethan got a great draft off us a couple of times. We ended up in a couple of traffic jams and an actual race start on the back straight there, but yeah, everything went to plan. Should have been a bit further up the grid, but we'll just keep pushing on.
That's it. You always keep pushing on. You seem to make the most out of your races anyway. Have you been looking forward to the race? Have you been managing? The tyre deck's going to be huge. We've been talking about that to everyone, but have you been thinking about how you're going to play the strategy now? You're starting a little bit further back than what you wanted?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this first lap goes, but if we get through that unscathed, then you know, this car's pretty well set up to do some overtaking, so it's like we'll do what we can to move up as we go through the race, and fingers crossed we finish near the front.
That's always the plan, isn't it? Always finish up near the front. Have you thought about a safety car? Is the safety car going to change this race up? How do you think that's going to play, especially starting further back? Will that change your whole strategy if it does happen on lap 1?
Oh, after the Red Bull Ring, we saw that the safety car definitely bred safety cars, and then made some pretty decent battle packs. So it's like, if a safety car comes out, I'm definitely jumping on it. But we'll see how we get through this first lap first.
That we will, and thank you, William Ford, for joining us here. And hopefully you can have a better result than you did in qualifying.
Thanks.
That was 40 for Evolution Racing Team, starting down in 26th position, not where he would have wanted to be starting as Sandman. We get ready for what is going to be another cracking race here, and we'll run through that grid lineup one last time before we get ready. We're just over a minute before these guys will get set off. Jared Fieldstall, Madison Down on row number 1. The battle of the Ethans off of row 2 with Ethan Warren and Ethan Grigg-Gault, with Jake Burton, Dylan Rudd on row number 3, Brady Myers and Jake Maloney on row number 4, with Jordan Ross and Brody Kostecki rounding out the top 10. Andrew Gilliam and Griffin Gardner on row 6. And then we move to Kobe Jones and Tom Freer, with Brenton Hobson rounding out the top 15. The rest of the drivers on your screen. A couple of notables further down, as we spoke about, Marcelo Rivera, one of those other guys from Evolution Racing Team who we spoke about in that qualifying session, Sandman, a little bit further than what he wanted to, as well as Richie Stanway down in 32nd. A lot of work to do for him.
Mate, if only we had heart rate monitors on those drivers right now, because I reckon they'd be going through the roof at this stage, all thinking about how they have to approach turn 1, but not too far away from the start. They'll all be thinking about it. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
Neither can I here for round 4 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational from Monza. Phil Selwyn down. How many times we said that on the front row of the grid? They will be leading us away here, as it's not too long before we see those lights go up and we get ready for a start. That's all to play for down into turn 1. Who's going to be the hero? Who's going to make sure they make no mistakes? The revs build for round 4 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. Waiting on that grid. They've held it for a while. It's green now and they're away. A couple of people starting to fan out, and this is what it's going to be. Sandman, they've got to make sure they're all clean down into turn 1. A couple of cars 3 wide. Madison Down's had a shocking start, actually. Phil Sells cleared him into turn 1. This car on the grass. Is he going to bring it back on? He did. That was going to be scary if he stayed on the grass. We know how treacherous it can be in the turn 1. 3 wide in the middle of the pack. That's Josh Anderson. We've got a couple of cars in SSR making contact again off the corner, but it looks like Phil Sells gone. And hopefully the rest of the field got through cleanly.
Yeah, brilliant run from all these teams. They got through that nice and smart, gave everyone plenty of room, and that's exactly what the start and the entire field wanted. No dramas at the first corner, and they know they can just push on with their race strategy now.
Done a good job. They managed to get it all clear and done. Phil Sell out in front, down leading in the P number 2 of his teammate Ethan Warren, who got the jump on Ethan Grigg-Gault. Then it's Myers, Burton, Maloney, as we watch the rest of the field further back in the field side by side. It was just in front of Lee Ellis. I think it was Kurt Stenberg side by side. One of the cut, and there's a slowdown penalty for one of the cars slowing down the inside. We spoke about that. Lap 1 is crucial not to get one.
Absolutely, that's heartbreaking, isn't it? Because everyone is just on it, and you're out of the throttle, and they're just pulling away from here. So not ideal, but there's plenty of time, obviously, for him to make up that ground. But you can see that now the team's getting through the back part of this racetrack. Looks like a nice, clean start. Absolutely thrilled with the amount of driving and the clear driving that I should say that these guys have produced for lap 1, because we all held our breath for that first chicane. But hats off to every single driver in the field. Oh, as I say, that couple and one contact just as I start talking about that, door handle to door handle with one of the TTR cars.
Yeah, TTR, ERT, I think SSR was on the outside, the very outside of the track. That was around mid-pack, so something's going on there off of the Ascari chicane. They all managed to rejoin it. Looking down the sheet, it could have been Ryan Stenberg and Freer. It looks like it was in that rough area of who it could have been. But Phil Sell, opening lap, led, done, tick, all clean. Now he's just going to concentrate on out in front. One thing is he's going to be hating out in front. No draft. He's going to be chewing up his fuel while the rest of them tow off him.
Yeah, that's true, but he can also run his own race. You know, him and Down, obviously pretty smart drivers. They've been around the scene for a while. They'll know within each other's teams what sort of fuel numbers that they'd ideally like to hit. I don't think Down will be in such of a hurry to get past him and lead, so I think Phil Sell can actually just roll out of the throttle, run his own race, and not worry about all these guys trying to swap past him.
That's right, and we got through the lap 1, no safety car, so we're not going to have that like we did last time at the Red Bull ring. These guys are now just all going to be concentrating on that long run, getting through this first part of this stint. We know Madison said it, tyres are falling off around, 3 to 4, 5 laps. They're going to fall off, then they start to plateau. So let's see what they're going to do. Fuel range difference between 24 and 26 laps on the tank depends on if you're fuel saving. If you're not, it's 24. If you are, you can get it to 26 laps. Now we're going to start to see what these guys want to do. Is anyone going to make a move inside the top 10? No, everyone loves this single file run.
Yeah, that's right. They'll play out the strategy the way they feel that's the fastest way to get around this race. 2 compulsory pit stops for these guys to think about. And like you said, they know they can go to the halfway mark on a tank of fuel, but how do they want to roll the dice? Do they want to go early and pit? But it's all about that teammates working together possibly, or even other drivers that you're working together with if you don't manage to get teamed up with a teammate, because you want to be in that draft, you want to be looking after the car, you want to get a good pace. So they'll all be knowing that the numbers that they want to hit and thinking about that strategy of when they make that first pit stop.
Yeah, exactly. Fuel isn't the benefit factor, but you can save some, and obviously that will bring your time down in the pit stop. Obviously tyres are going to be all, and everyone's going to want tyres, so the tyres are going to be the factor, but you can gain time in terms of how much fuel you don't have to put in this car, and you heard that from Brody Kostecki in the turn 1. Massive lift. He is rolling around, currently in P9, gained a spot on the start, so he's done a good job to move himself up another position. We've got side-by-side action further back in the pack. This is Brad Ryan. He's got damage on the left-hand side of his ERT Mustang, and behind him, it looked like Marcelo Rivera making up some ground on Brad Loxton.
I wonder if it was these guys that had that little coming together at the start of or sort of halfway through the end of that first lap. But yeah, these guys just sort of running their own race now and just trying to get some clear air. A little bit of damage that won't affect him too much, but it's all about eyes forward and seeing what they can do.
Yeah, I think Jack Boyd's in front of them as well. He's got a lot of damage to the front of his SSR Commodore. He's gained 9 positions already off the start. So good start from Jack Boyd, made up some ground, got a little bit of damage in the process of it, but that's all right. So we look at the front, the Mustang behind isn't any better for Brad Ryan. He's got a lot of damage to the front of that Ford Mustang, and now let's see, will that actually hurt him in the draft? It could. Yeah. Not gaining anything, is he? And Marcelo Rivera is actually going for a move on his teammate.
Yeah, it could hurt his straight line speed. It might not hurt too much if he's tucked right up under a car and he's got a draft to get the feed from. But I think when he's by himself, you know, it's crucial to keep just the front nose of that as straight as he can. Obviously, that's not ideal. He didn't do it on purpose, but that may be a bit of a factor as far as his straight line speed.
Yeah, and it'll be a factor later on in the race as Marcelo Rivera looks like he's going to make a move on Jack Boyd, move himself up another position, and he gets the job done with a little bit of a helping hand of contact on the exit of the Parabolica, and now he's gotten the job done, but will Jack Boyd get the run? Obviously the draft now can pull himself slingshotting back past into turn 1 chicane. He's going to go defensive. Boyd's going to have to go the long way around if he wants to do this one.
Absolutely. Oh, they're not going to go through wide. Well, I thought they were for a second there for that camera shot, but no, smarter heads have prevailed there. But yeah, ideally you want to keep the nose of that car. They go side by side through that chicane. They're going to give each other a little bit of room. But just as we said that they wanted to keep their nose, there was that little bit of nose-to-tail contact out of that last corner. So you can see just how much of a gap now it's opened up as these guys race side by side. Boyd's going to hold on to the outside. He's going to now decide to tuck back in. Hope he'll start thinking about whether he decides to make a move up the inside or the outside here. He's going to get covered here, a little bit of touch. Well, it looks like he's copped a hit from behind too, the way the car moved around.
Yeah, it looked like he copped a hit from Brett Loxton. I don't think Loxton was expecting him to tow, and that little run that he had, the bad run from Loxton, actually hurt the rest of that pack. It hurt Lee Ellis behind. He couldn't do anything about it, and the beneficiary, Thomas, is going to gain that position as well. He did. He got the job done on Ellis, so move him up another position. But, wow, I think he maybe got a little bit of a touch from Brett Loxton behind. He wasn't expecting him to check up so much. He maybe thought that he was going to go for a move, but now look at this big trade that's formed up behind Stanaway at the back of it.
Yeah, this is almost, yeah, we talked about it in qualifying. It's almost a bit like Daytona, Talladega type thing where they're all just lined up and just grabbing what draft they can from each other. So it's all single file through here. No one's going to make anything too radical. Very, very early stages here at round 4 here at Monza. But you can see they're all just getting in a line and trying to use as much draft as they can.
Yeah, there's a couple of teammates in here as well. We've got a 5-second penalty for car number 96, an unsafe rejoin. That was on lap 1 at turn number 10. So that's unfortunate for Brad Ryan. That's 5 seconds he's going to have to serve in the pit stop. Or outside of it. You can serve it in the pit stop. Well, they'll stop you for 5 seconds and you can get your service, or after, I believe. So that's going to hurt him. So he's now going to try and catch onto the back of his teammate Marcelo Rivera and try and pull himself back along.
Yeah, it looks like that. I'm interested to see how much that front end damage is hurting him too, because he's not really pulling up to the cars in front of him. As these guys, a little bit of a touch on exit there, and he hold on to it. Oh, good stuff. They all got out of the throttle just to let each other gather it up. But now Ellis is in the thick of it. Now will he try and get a move up the inside? Not quite enough room. He's going to tuck in almost a little bit of bump drafting. He tries to move him out of the way. Look at these guys. They're side by side as they come into the hairpin.
Berkey's going to have a run too. He's pushing Lee Ellis through Curva Grande. He's going to get the job done. Does Ellis? Yep. Josh Thomas, nowhere to go. He's managed to rejoin in that second position. Berkey was pushing Ellis to go. Get the job done so I can move up another position. Good job. Good driving from the wall. And well done to Brett Loxton. Rolled out of the throttle. Let Thomas get the car back under control and kept going.
Yeah, Ellis would have loved that little shove too, because it's like, yeah, we've got a little bit of clear air. He gets that 1 or 2 kilometres and then that's perfect. So he would have been thankful for that one, no doubt.
Would have been shouting shake and bake, boys, as he got the job done. Let's go. He moved up and moves up another position as we look at these two weaving down the back straight. That Phil Cell was capping him. I am actually quite shocked, especially with the draft, of how much down is not there. They did say they haven't done a lot of long running. So yeah, he's pulled out a gap roughly a second. He's starting to stretch the legs.
Yeah, I think down might be, like you said, you touched on it, and he said that they didn't get much running through the week. They're probably just cautious about tyre deck. So these first few laps, he'll probably just be keen to run his own race and not hurt those tyres too much. Obviously, Jared's probably done a little bit of more practice coming into this round. He's probably aware of how that car feels and what his tyre deck's like. So at the moment, I don't think Down will be too concerned. He's still getting a little bit of a sniff of a draft, but he's also got a pusher behind him with Warren. So that's key too.
The thing they've got to watch out for is Ethan Gold. He'll be seeing Jared Philcell skipping away. He is a little bit quicker, obviously, in the draft, but he may be like, well, if you guys aren't going to try and close the gap to Philcell, I'll try and close the gap. But we know how Ethan can be smart. He will sit there and say, fuel himself and gain it on a pit stop cycle. So it's those little things that play in your head. There's a lot to play out in this race. And to think, we've already ticked over 6 laps of this race. We're already over 10% through. And as we go back to the battle pack of the century, at the moment with Ellis and Josh Thomas at the front of this panel, we're running on board with Wayne Burt. That's Blake Warboys on the outside. Going to Della Roggia, chicane, another tap to Thomas. There's nearly 3 cars. Stenberg's gained it.
Stenny's got you beauty. There's 2 spots for me. Thanks very much. But Wayne did a great job there. You see the car in front of him was just moving around. He didn't get back on the throttle and get into the back of him. That could have turned real ugly, but Stenny's gone. Thank you very much, fellas.
Oh, Thomas sideways out of Lesmo too. He is struggling with the rear of that car. It's had a couple of hits in the rear, but he's also struggling with the rear tyre life. As we look back at a replay of that, it was everyone going into that chicane. Nowhere for Burke to go. little bit of contact between Blake Boys and Josh Thomas, and Kurt Stenberg's like, I'm going to take all of these positions. Thank you very much.
It's going, this racing gig's pretty easy when everyone starts getting out of the throttle and getting sideways. I just keep going. Good on him.
Did a good job to make that move, and now he's latched onto the back of Blake Boys and Lee Ellis, who were trying to skip away for Wayne Burt behind, who didn't have a good qualifying session. So he's got a lot of work to do to try and bring that back and move out Luke Rosella, who we spoke to earlier on in the group walk. He's got his teammate right behind him. He's pushing him along, and Brady Kostecki looking a little bit defensive as Gilliam was on the inside, a Gardner behind. So this is a little bit of a battle pack from 7th on back.
Absolutely. Looks like Kostecki's just running his own race. He's lost touch with the draft there. I don't know if he's had a drama or anything, but yeah, certainly lost contact with that front runner cars, but nevertheless, he'll still be thinking about what he's got. He'll still have a decent car. We saw how well he drove at the last round, and yeah, it's just wait and see how this all unfolds when they get to their first pit stop.
Oh, Ellis! What happened to Ellis?
That's in the first chicane. I wonder if he's had contact. The back of that car's stoved in. I don't know if that's from that incident or whether it's for something else as we check out the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational replay. Oh, just missed the action there.
Yeah, so I think we've just missed what's happened there with Lee Ellis, but we'll definitely try and catch that for you, because Lee Ellis was in that battle pack just on the outside of the top 20. Here it is. Lee Ellis in front. Oh, it's contact with Berkey. Oh,
and his teammate too. He's shot across the grass. He's got it all locked up. Man, he was just bouncing off cars, ricocheting left and right. And oh, how lucky was he not to get collected by the field?
The rest of the field did a really good job, not to collect Lee Ellis. He's put it back in reverse, but yeah, contact between Burke and him. Wayne Burke on his inside made contact, and then it's pinballed himself between him, Wayne Burke, and Stenberg on the outside. Instead, he just made that good move to get the job done. Now he's going to have to try and regain all those positions back.
Mate, that's heartbreak, isn't it? Just, you know, still so early in the race, and looking to be sort of, I think he was back in 38th position. So, yeah, gut-wrenching for him. Hopefully, maybe a safety car might work in his favour to get him back in touch with the field. But if that's not the case, unfortunately, that might be night over for him.
Yeah, it could be night over, or it could be an early one. You'll have to see what he can gain. Safety car could come out. We definitely cannot forget there could be a safety car that could come out, could change the whole complexion of this race. Hopefully it doesn't, but you never know. We love it. As we go back a little bit further back, Gilliam, Gardner side by side. This is for just outside the top 10. Gardner on the inside, Gilliam on the outside. They've made contact under braking too, and they're going to go straight on. Gardner's hit the sausage curve on the inside. I think Gilliam just cut the whole chicane. They're both going to have to serve a slowdown, so that benefited no one of them.
Wow, that's, geez, they're not giving much room to each other in the braking zones now, are they? It seems to be like a little bit of gloves off. They were pretty easy in the first couple of laps, but what are we, lap 8 now? And it seems to be that now the guys are getting their elbows out a little bit.
A little bit early to be getting the elbows out, but, you know, they want to prove that they can move themselves up, gain positions, gain time that they may have lost, and I think that also plays a little bit of a factor here at Monza. You see the leading group in front of you get away. You've got a car in front of you, you're like, I can be quicker than him, I need to get this job done. So you're trying to force it over, you're trying to make sure that he doesn't get to stick to the outside, so you get the cleanest run through a chicane, so you can try and gain then time on the guys in front. And they make contact, and it's twice now we've seen that.
Yeah, and all in the braking zones too. So I don't know if they're just going in a little bit deep, or they're just not giving each other a room. But yeah, they're sort of zones where the last thing you want is a little bit of contact there. But you know, unfortunately, it's happened. So now it's just eyes forward for these guys to see if they can push on.
Yeah, Gardner and Gilliam will have to try and see if they can gain anything. Don't know whether the stewards will have anything to say about that. They both lost time. They're both further back in the pack now. So they just got to fight their way back through and see if they can gain those positions back. At the front of this train, it is Rosella with Kobe Jones right in behind. He didn't think of making a move. Josh Anderson as well behind in the cool drive entry for TTR as well. I'm going to remember that he's also TTR, even though it's in the cool drive livery. And let's see if he's going to make a move. He looks pretty close to Kobe Jones to maybe have a sniff going down the inside into the second chicane. Will he get the job done of moving? Nah, he's just thought, nope, no point having a look. We'll just sit him behind for another lap.
How good's this run from Luke Rosello? We spoke to him on the grid. What did he started from 7th position? So he said he had a good race car. He wasn't telling us fibs, and look at him go. He's at P11. He's driving really well. The car's straight too, and that's key. We've already seen a number of cars that have got damage, whether it's front end damage or anything else. So he's got a clean car. He's got some clean air, and look at him go.
He's done a good job to get through all those little melees too, avoid them all, and move himself up into just outside that top 10. He's got a fair bit of ground to make up to get to Maloney, but hey, if they all work together in this train, they can definitely bring it back, because if those guys start fighting, you can lose time over fist at Monza if you start battling, especially with the way the chicanes work here. As we'll still watch Josh Anna. We go further back, looking at Sean McNamara, who has got a little bit of damage, I think, on the left side of that car. One of them did now. I know Sebastian Flock behind has got a little bit to his car as well, but these guys are all battling. And this is what we say, there's 40-odd cars out there, but there's battling throughout the whole field here in the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational.
Absolutely. It's almost like we need 6 or 7 broadcasts on the go, because there's so much action. You know, we love it. And that's what's great about this series, is that you don't have to be up front. We say it each and every round, but you don't have to be up front to have a great race. And these guys have proven that all the way through the field.
As we look, Brett Loxton a little bit of a wiggle as he comes into the final, to the parabolica, sorry. That's actually going to give a run to Sean McNamara, see whether he can make a move down, as we've got Brad Ryan in the pit lane. So he is coming to serve his first round of his pit stop on lap 10, and that will most probably as well serve that 5-second penalty. But looking to the inside, goes Sean McNamara. Going to get alongside the door of the other Commodore, and the jig shifters Commodore's going to leave in the space of Brett Loxton. And now the drive out of the corner. Will Sean McNamara get the job? And he does. Clean exit, got the power down, and he's going to get that position.
Now Flock's just sitting there saying, all right, boys, how are you going to play this out?
Yeah.
Do I sneak around? Does he start thinking about a move? He's going to think about a move up the inside. These guys are thinking about it. Each is side by side now. A dive up and under the brakes. Plenty of room. As long as they don't get too hard on the curbs, it's easy to get 2 wheels up and get in.
They've all made contact.
Both of them have gone. He made up 2 spots. Flock was watching to see how it all unfold, and both of them went off.
They got to watch their rejoin as well. It's a little bit of contact between the two side by side. They got going again.
Second chicane, mate.
They have McNamara. Is he going again? No, he's still stuck there. Nah, he's got it going. Thank God. I was like, oh.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's hard luck. He's got a lot of damage to that car now.
Yeah.
And plus, he's a long way back off the train too now. So let's go and check out the replay again. You can see I said that they were getting side by side. The trickiest part is, when you're in this part of the chicane, is if you get up on 2 wheels, but I don't know, quite a little bit of side by side. Yep. And then, of course, the touch from behind. So all of them have gone there. But, oh, unbelievable. That's so easy for it to unfold like that coming into that chicane.
Yeah, Sebastian Flock had nowhere to go either. He was a watching bystander, and as soon as the 2 cars made contact, they kicked themselves a little bit sideways, and Flock's like, well, I got nowhere to go, and you can't react in time, so he's just made that little bit of extra contact to help them both around. So Loxton and McNamara has to dig themselves out of the gravel and get going, but they're going to be a long way off from the back of the pack as we go right on board with Kobe Jones behind Josh Anderson in that full drive Mustang. Let's see if you have another look to the inside, and that's actually behind him. That's Luke Rosella. We were talking about him making moves. He's moved himself up and now into he's actually
he
dropped a couple of he's dropped 2 spots. So there's been a little bit of battling going on in this train, and now he's going to see if he can try and gain this position back. I was having a look because I was like, I'm sure it was behind Maloney, but he's lost 2. So Jones and Anderson have passed him, and now these 2 are at the lead of this train.
And it could have been as simple as just the draft effect. You know, he was out front pushing the air by himself, so these guys probably had a run on him, got the job done, but he's not out of it. He knows he's still got a good car, and he's just back in that train. So it's eyes forward for him. It's not over yet, and still a heck of a long way to go. It's only a lap 11 of this 50-lapper.
Yeah, only lap 11. And we'll cover the front as well. There's not much going on. Phil Sellers pulled out a 2.1 second lead out in front, so it's all control out there for him at the moment. That's why we are down at looking at the battles, because Phil Sellers is currently just doing what he needs to do out in front. There's Jones leading Anderson in this train. As we've got a penalty, drive-through penalty for car 89 of moving under brakes causing contact. And we know exactly that was that turn 1 incident with Wayne Burke, Kurt Stenberg and Lee Ellis. So the stewards have decided that's on Berkey, and that's going to be a drive-through penalty for him.
Yeah, never good when they get a drive-through. It's the hardest job in racing, isn't it? When you're the steward and you have to part out those penalties. But sometimes they're as clear as day and sometimes they're not. But unfortunately, rules are rules, and he'll serve that penalty, and it'll just be all about damage limitation now from now on.
That's right, and he's actually serving it right now. He's in the lane, and he's going to drive through and serve that penalty and get it out of the way. It's like we said, safety car, if it comes out, it can bring him back into the race. So rather get it done early than have that weighing over you and be like, I've got to serve a drive-through, and then end up losing so much more time after a safety car window. As we see his rejoins in actually a lot of clear air. So he should be able to get into that position to be able to get see what he can do in terms of making it. As we look further back, that's Benjamin Smith on the inside of Brett Loxton.
There he goes.
And as we say that, there is contact, and that's around for Benjamin Smith, and he's looking the wrong way.
Yeah, that's tricky. It narrows up so much, and you know, if you haven't got the job done there, it's so easy to punt someone, whether you try it or not. You know, it's just, it gets so narrow, and unfortunately he's been turned around, and yeah, that's just going to make his night just that little bit more difficult.
Yeah, now he's already a little bit off the pack. Now he's got a lot of work to do as Myers is showing something's happened to Brady Myers. He may have just, he's back. Okay. Whew. I was going to say, we didn't need that. Myers running up front and internet. Yeah, we didn't want that to happen if he was having a little bit of a disconnect, a little bit of internet issues there. Just playing him a little bit from 5th position, that would have been a big talking point for that position. Now, round 1 winner as we ride on board with Jake Burton from Vendable Racing. He is just in behind, and look at this train that is forming up behind Madison Dow. I shouldn't really say it's a train. They're all just patient.
Yeah, well, that's it. And it's smart heads-up racing because it's early. These guys haven't even done their first pit stop yet. So there's no rush. And like you said, there's not too many people that want to lead. I wonder if it is raising alarm bells a little for them, seeing that Phil Sell's now got it out to 2.3 seconds. I know if they all work together and if they all push in this train, they will catch up to him with that. You know, it's easy to make up that time when you're in a draft. But I just wonder if it is playing on their minds a little bit, seeing Phil Sell just run away.
Yeah, seeing him just skip away just that little bit at the moment could just play, especially for Ethan Gripgold. You got to remember, he's not part of there as a teammate, so he might be thinking, well, if you guys are going to play this strategy game, I want to play my own strategy game, and I want to get closer to those two out in front. So see how this little bit of a train goes. It's sort of just stayed stagnant, but Phil Sell is running away now, nearly 2.5 seconds out in front, and he's been able to do what he needs to do as Kostecki. As we look back, he is leading that second train of 4 cars himself, Jordan Ross, Dylan Rudd, and Jake Malone. Dylan Rudd's had a really good drive, I think we should say, Sam. After what happened last week, we saw in the highlight package, I think we all saw it, where he jumped the start, and obviously then that's where he got into the back of Hampstead, and that's where he lost his boot, where we found out. But now he's able to show what he can do, and qualified inside the top 10 and running solidly in 9th.
Absolutely, and not showing any signs of slowing up at this stage too. He's comfortable in this draft. You know, these guys are not battling. They're just sort of being smart about their way their race is going to play out. They'll obviously have some sort of idea in their mind about what sort of what lap they want to start thinking about their pit stops. But yeah, it's a good drive from him. I reckon he'd be absolutely stoked.
Yeah, I feel like he'd be super happy with that result, especially with who he's around. These guys have been in the iRacing and supercar scene for such a long time. To be running up there is an awesome job. But here we are with Brenton Hobson, and thought he was going to have a little bit of thing, but let's crank it up and listen to Brendan Hobson, currently running inside the top, just outside the top 15 to 16. who doesn't love that glorious sound of supercars, especially around Monza, as we look at Kobe Jones now second in this train. He's got Griffin Gardner right in behind him. And as we heard as well, a couple of these guys fuel saving, a lot of lift and coast in the braking zone, Sam, and we expected that, but we're just coming up to the start where we said the tyres will be starting to fall off a cliff around lap 15. Will this be the start of their first compulsory window? They need to make 2 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll be thinking about that because obviously they'll try and split it up evenly. Some teams do. So, you know, maybe around sort of 15 to 20 will sort of get evenly spread throughout the race. So 2 stops to make, and then they'll be thinking about that. But that gap now is 3.5 seconds between Phil Sell and Down. So it's opening up just that little bit more.
It's still opening up as Down. I don't think he has anything for Phil Sell out in front. He's just pulling away and opening the gap. Warren was giving him a shot down the front stretch. Gilliam is in the pit lane. So he's, like we said, the first of the pit stop people. Let's see how this all starts to play out in terms of this cycle. Who puts in what level of fuel? Obviously, they're all going to take tyres. I don't think anyone's not going to take tyres. I think that's just going to happen. But the fuel level will be key. They can make it a halfway distance on a tank. So how much they put in here and how much they put in the next stop, they could shuffle themselves around. Thomas outbrakes himself and goes a little bit deep, and that's going to actually open the door for Hayne to get the job done.
Yeah, it was just like a slight little lock and caught up on that sausage curve, and that was the end of it. So, yeah, tricky part of the racetrack there. A little bit of a run here now. They're going to go side by side. We've seen how some of these have unfolded in the past. You don't want to give up too much space. Like Smart Racing, they all got a little bit single file, so good heads up.
Yeah, Todd Hayne just went, I'm just going to chill here for a minute. We don't need to do anything silly. Blake Warboy's watching brief now and is going to follow on third car in this train. Lesmo 1 as we come through. Now, the top part of this track, I should say, and then into Lesmo 2, then this long run down this straight. Guys, you can hear them so delicate on the throttle that don't want to spin those rear tyres up. The 16 laps, on this tyre set. They will be up struggle. They will be wishing they could get a new set of boots. And when they get a new set of boots, they don't want to push them so hard in the first windows, do they, Sandman? Because they know that they've got to stretch that tyre life out over the whole stint.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when you do the most damage to your tyres. If you put on a brand new set and just abuse them on those first couple of laps, they don't become your best friend later on. So you want to have a good relationship with your tyres, especially around here with these guys and the temperatures they're dealing with. And it'd be interesting to sort of get some feedback later on because, you know, we were talking, I think, about after lap 5 or so, they're garbage, I think Madison was saying. So here they are, lap 17. So it'd be interesting to see how these cars feel underneath with these drivers.
And the track has cooled down just a little bit, 54 degrees. I say a little bit, it's only 4 degrees, but you know, it's enough. It's enough. Well, you take it when you're driving out there, especially with the way it is. So a little bit of drop in the temp, but it's still going to be harsh in those tyres. A couple of other guys coming down that further down the field. I think that's Stanaway and Toby Dyke coming down into pit lane to get their first round of service. This is a big train now forming behind Anderson. It's starting to go from P number 11 all the way to 17. Marcelo Rivera, who we spoke about earlier on, has done a really good job to close down that gap. He's now at the back of this train and he's on it.
Yeah, he had good pace in practice. Obviously didn't all go his way so far for the night, but yeah, good pace now, like you said, tagging on the back of this draft. It's almost perfect timing now because where he's at, he's now thinking about his pit stop. It won't be too far away, but the way he's been able to tack onto the back of these guys, he'll be pretty happy with.
And it'll be interesting to see whether he tries to just close it up a little bit or how he's going to play this strategy as well. Now he can try and undercut these guys and get in front if he really wants to play that game. So it's put him in a good position to make some more up. He's gained 4 from his start. Jack Boyd behind obviously has lost a lot of time to Marcelo Rivera, but let's see what these guys do. We're coming up to start lap 18 of this 50-lap race here for round 4 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational from Monza, and everyone else basically just staying out running their races. Warren was pushing down hard. You saw the rear of that car swirling under brakes as he just let off him to let him get the car settled as Kobe Jones comes into the pits, one of the first of the leading runners inside that top 15.
It's funny, you brought up a good point that sort of I didn't really think about, but obviously the undercut, because fresh tyres around here, we say it all the time, it makes you feel like Superman. So we know how horrible they get to around this point. So a fresh set of tyres will actually make you make up huge amounts of ground. And as we say, that gap's now 4.3 seconds between Phil Sell and Dion.
Yeah, Phil Sell is running roughly 1 to 1.2 seconds off his best lap time. Madison down about 1.5 seconds off his best lap time. So he's been able to keep that longevity in his stints. We have a look at those. A 59.2 was Phil Sell, down to 49.4 as you look at their best laps, roughly 4/10 in it last time around. So this stint is where you can tell that Phil Sell has managed those tyres just enough now that he's able to gain that little bit extra in the end of this run.
Yeah, it shows you how good the car is too, because he's doing this all by himself. There's no help whatsoever. So it'd be interesting to sort of be in the depths of TTR to see if this is the way that they're doing this, if they're doing it on purpose, or if they've just absolutely got nothing for Phil Sell at the moment. Maybe they're thinking about just doing the charge later on, or maybe they're worn out just running as hard as they can at the moment. I'm not sure. I'd love to be in the fold to find out how that's playing out. Looks like Burton's dive in the pits.
Yeah, Burton's going to be the first of that leading group to run. And I was about to say, what about an undercut? What if you throw them on and just burn the tyres out of it for this first stint? You could do a 10-lap stint technically here. They've done 19 odd 20 odd laps on this stint. Do a 10-lap middle stint, give you another 19, 20 laps towards the end if you want to play it like
Absolutely.
that. So let's see, does Burton go hell for leather and just send it on this stint and try, as everyone else in behind him's come down pit lane as well. So I think this was the early strategy call, mix it up around lap 18, which is, you think, roughly halfway you should give there or thereabout in terms of the stints, thirding the stints, I should say. So not surprised that Burton's come down. Let's see how hard he goes on that first lap.
Yeah, I love it. Exactly what you just said then. Come in, because he's nose to tail. He'll make up that little bit of advantage on fresh tyres. But like you said, smash the tyres for 10 laps or something, and then just manage your stint at the end. If he can gap those guys, especially if they stay out a little bit longer, that will really benefit him in the long run. So I'm actually hoping that these guys stay out a little bit longer just to see how much of an advantage he gets with those fresher tyres.
Yeah, we know if he can do a 49 odd lap time, he's going to be roughly a second a lap quicker at this start. If he had a good in lap, good out lap, he could have gained more. So I think, yeah, mix it up. Don't go too longer stints and then a short sprint stint at the end. Put your sprint stint in the middle and try and gain while you can now. So I think that's going to be one of those things. If we look at that time stationary on the left-hand side, Gilliam was only stationary for 20 seconds, whereas Burton was a lot longer. So that means Burton's put in a lot more fuel than I thought he would have put in, especially with the way the undercut would have worked. But again, Gilliam's trying to undercut everyone in that train, and that's what he's done.
Yeah, again, it's going to be different fuel loads and different, how much they saved, how much they want to have towards the end. Do they want to have a shorter stop at the end? But yeah, like you were saying, I think I'd like to go hard in the middle, go for that short 10-lap sprint, bust your guts and see what you can achieve, and then look after it towards the end.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you have to stretch that middle stint 1, 2, maybe 3 extra laps, yeah, okay, you've taken a lot of the goodness out of a 10-lap stint, but then that just takes a little bit off the back. So you can always judge of, okay, I'm pushing the tyres as hard as I can. I can judge where I need to put it at the end and see where I come out. So these guys are going around again, so we could be in that stage. Let's see what they're going to do. Marcelo Rivera is the next person to come down pit lane and get his first compulsory pit stop sorted, but these guys, they actually were quicker than Phil Sell last time around, which is good to see that maybe the tyres are starting to come back to them, but maybe they're thinking as well, maybe we could actually push these guys a little bit harder.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you know you're approaching your pit window, it's like, well, let's use everything up. Let's just give it what we've got. It's like, what they say to Hamilton. It's hammer time. Push for as hard as you can, because you know you're not going to leave those tyres in the next sort of lap or two, because your pit strategy is soon enough.
Just having a look at the lap time of Andrew Gilliam, who is currently the first car a lap down. He only did a 50.5. It's only 3/10 quicker than the leader. Not as much of an undercut as I thought, unless he got held up. So there is a little bit of damage, but that's from all the side-to-side panel, and obviously him having the contact coming into this braking zone earlier on in the race. So let's see what Burton. I think Burton's going to be the judge, jury, and executioner on that one, as I actually looked down Kobe Jones at a 49.8. So there is lap time out there that they've just got to find.
Yeah, absolutely. And we said in practice, I think the fastest times we were sort of seeing in practice and qualifying was sort of 48.5. So, yeah, they're having a good run. They're pushing fast times. And, man, I'm interested to see how it all plays out as far as where Burton comes out, because those tyres are now fresh. He's going hard, and the guys are still out there on the older tyres up front.
And Marcelo Rivera has obviously lit up that second sector, so he's on a really quick lap time too, as he just threw some new boots at it. As Brady Myers, the first one of TTR going from the front, has come down pit lane as well. So they're all starting to play their cards. They're all starting to come in on this lap number 20 and figure out where they're going to go from here in terms of the rest of the strategy of this race. Safety cars could change it, but I feel like Rivera is going to be on it. He's actually lost a little bit of time to free it behind, but let's see where the rest of this field goes.
Absolutely. Now put your team manager's hat on. If you're in with Phil Sell, do you keep him going as long as he can, or do you put him in? Because he's got himself a nice little, it's nearly 5 seconds now over down.
It's hard. Do you bring him in? But then you risk yourself putting yourself in traffic, especially if some of these other guys go a little bit longer. We know that you can get 24 to 26 laps out of the stint. So we know he's going to be leaning more towards the 24 lap. Obviously, he would have saved some fuel as well, but give or take a lap, so 24, 25. Some of these other guys can push that extra lap, and if he comes out in traffic, he could actually lose a second or two. So it's hard. It's a hard game to play. You sort of want to wait for 90% of the field to pit and then pit, especially if you're out in front by 5 seconds.
Absolutely. How good was that bumper cam too? And you can see, the cars moving around, the springs moving. You can almost read the serial number on the diff housing. I love that sort of stuff when you see, especially bouncing over these curbs. But yeah, 5 seconds. It looks like maybe Phil Sell is staying out for another one. We'll see. But yeah, I'm loving how they're rolling the dice, and everyone's just not doing the same thing. It's brilliant.
I think this is the race that we expected was going to happen here. I think we knew it was going to be a lot of a strategy game, but how much of a strategy game was up to how these guys wanted to play it. As Warren's been doing that every lap, giving him a nice big bump. He's lets off him, but a couple of times he's been given down a bit of a hairy moment. You don't want to do that. You want the car to settle. We've been obviously in F1, everyone's been talking about the porpoising as such, and when they get on the brakes, they want the car to settle. That's what Down wants, the car to be settled as soon as he hits his foot on the brake. But Warren sometimes giving him a little bit too much of a shove where it's getting the car all out of shape, but he's done a good job to hold onto it those other times. So you can see then Warren gave him a shove, but backed right off before the braking zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll be talking to each other about that. And Down will have comfort knowing that it's a teammate behind him and he's not going to shove him in the wrong spot. So that's Down's probably rolling out of the throttle, saving what fuel he can, and he's just getting that extra shot from behind just to push him forward a little bit. So it could be good tactics, just make him go that little bit longer and save some more fuel.
And I was having a look at the lap times as well. There's just then Burton did a 49.6 last time around. He just did a 49.8. Marcelo Rivera 4. So it's on now.
Yeah, absolutely. Lap 22 or 25. Is it going to be around lap 25 when we see Phil Sell come in? I'm not sure. I think if it was me and the way that this playing out, the comfort margin that he's got up his sleeve, I'd just push him until his tank's almost dry, and then pit him. And you can see Kostecki's now moved himself up to P5. Probably a little bit further back. They'd probably like to play the teammate game and start drafting each other, but Kostecki's got himself in some free air. He's got a couple of cars behind him now, and I wonder if they'll pit on the same time and same lap.
They could play that game, come down the pit road at the same time, but Phil still staying out another lap. Obviously there's other guys still staying out as well, so they're pushing this. So this is going to basically be a full fuel run stint for these guys, and just stretch that. Could they just come in for a one lap dash at the end? You could, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's race is different, and if you're in a position where you've got decent, clear track around you and you don't have too much pressure as far as losing a position from behind, absolutely you could. I mean, we can see Phil Sell's got good pace on old tyres, lap 23 now, so obviously the car's looking pretty good, so he can think about that and probably roll the dice if he wants to.
We just said car 36 is to redress behind car number 72, and that he has done. He's behind him at the moment, so there must have been a little bit of contact between Anderson and Smith, but he's rejoined, switched those positions around, and they have gotten back on and going. So Smith, I don't believe has pitted yet, so he is actually not done a service yet, as I have a look through. No, he has. So Benjamin Smith has come down pit road, has got his service. So Anderson now behind him. So Smith's trying to see what he can gain. So that is fighting for position.
Yeah, I think he's in the key spot too. Anderson may be able to get that position back. This key run down the front straight. He's going to look to an inside move. He got the change over, so the penalty he doesn't have to worry about now. In the perfect spot, he's got the inside move and gets the job done nice and clean on Ben Smith.
That was a good move, well thought out. Knew what he had to do. He knew he was going to get the run and got the job done. So as we look through that field, Myers is the first car that has served his pit stop. Burke, obviously, he had that drive-through penalty, so he's obviously a long way out of sync in terms of his strategy. So he's got a lot of work that he needs to do to try and climb back himself up into any position. But at the moment, these guys definitely, and in the lane, as I said, that Kostecki, and that pit lane entry is scary when you have a whole bunch of cars behind you.
That's it. There's so much time. We speak about it all the time. There's so much time to be made on pit entry, so you can see just how hard they go in, get it all locked up. They don't care about, you know, ruining those tyres or flat spotting them because they're coming off the car now. They're putting 4 fresh Dunlops on them and they'll be getting underway. So yeah, it's quite a hairy moment coming into pit lane.
That it was, and now let's see one of the last cars in that sort of leading group that hasn't pitted, and I shouldn't say leading group, he's out there by himself, is Ian Ford. He's going to go on another lap, so a couple of these guys stretching it to lap 24. It'll be interesting to see who comes out first of that 4 that pitted, because as Burton looked like he was in the boot of Gilliam coming out of the last quarter from that shot. He's going to have a run down a front straight. This is for the, not technically the effective, this is technically second at the moment, but they're going to have cars rejoining on the right. That's Jordan Ross, and they've got to be careful with that merge, but Burton's done it well down the inside into turn number 1. Job done. Moved himself up another position.
Man, it's hold your breath stuff, isn't it? Come onto that last corner. You can see Burton just wanting to get on the throttle earlier as he could, but just didn't want to make contact to the back of that car. So he did a great job. They managed to survive, and now they push on. So Burton now with a little bit of clear air, he'll be trying to close that margin up now towards the front.
And he needs to try and see what he can gain into now. He's got that job done, got clear air, and like you said, he needs to try and see if he can get anything above down Warren and Greg Galt, because they're the ones that he was fighting. He needs to see if he can get anything out of it. Myers is the lead car that has pitted. He's a fair way up the road. He did put in about 10 seconds less fuel as we look. Jared Filsell and a lap 24, he is in the pit lane, so good job from him.
He's looks like.
Down as well. Warren goes another lap, so that was the fuel saving, so Warren able to save enough fuel. Basically was underneath the rear wing of down the entire run, so not surprised he's able to go an extra lap.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him probably pit the next lap, because you don't probably want to let these guys get too far away on you, especially when he was in the thick of it, and when these guys were on fresh tyres, they probably will gap him pretty easy. So I would imagine you'd probably see him in the next lap.
Definitely, I think he'll be in the next lap. And see what these guys do, where they rejoin. How much fuel do you put in fuel cell? I'd fill it, to be fair.
Yeah,
just fill it.
Absolutely got the margin. Yep.
You'd fill it down. Does he play a little bit of a shorter undercut and go, well, I only need to put in a full tank of fuel? Do I put in half? Because here comes Myers, and he's going to jump more. So Myers is going to take that the race lead, or the effective race lead. Obviously, Ian Ford and Ethan Warren still have to pit. But yeah, Phil Cell put in full tank, I'm guessing. So did Down, so did Ethan Greg Galt. I'm guessing that would be a full tank fill. And they haven't really lost much. But there on the inside was Ross and Burton. They have managed to make up ground, and Ross has got the job done of Burton. And they've moved themselves up in front of Down in that train.
Absolutely. Put Down right in the thick of it, haven't they? They've made some margin there, so they'd be chuffed with that result. And now got himself some clear air too, especially Jordan. He's just looking forward, going, how good's this?
Yeah, so looking at those fuel times, that is the fuel time of their stint, so of that pit stop, sorry. So 22 seconds was Myers, 33.7 is pretty much a full tank there for Jared Filsell. Ross as well, a little bit less. Burton, full tank in his car, so that's actually a really good job for Burton to make up some ground that he has on Down, which would have been the fresher tyres. So he's made up that ground that he needed to. And now that Gilliam obviously has got a lot less fuel in that car, so that's where he's gained his track position. But look at this train. This is now technically second through to wherever.
Yeah, exactly right. It's all played out. And I love how that strategy's worked out for Burton too. He pushed on, got that pit stop, ran on those fresh tyres, and it's made a big bundle of cars for this position. This is really good to see.
Yeah, well, was that someone down the inside of Burton? I believe it was. Did Down just get Burton? I think he did into the Ascari chicane, because Down is now in front of Burton. Yeah. So that must have been a bit of a dicey move, but they would have given each other move. Let's have a look. Yeah, he was behind, so he's just gotten the run. Out of Lesmo 2, going to move to the inside. Ross actually was on the left-hand side, going to give him the toe. So down to the inside, and with the fresh tyres, it would have made life a little bit easier. I think Burton would have rolled out. Yeah, he did. So Burton rolled out. Smart move. He knows he's already gained the time he needs to, and now he's just going to see what he can do in the train. But Myers out in front.
Yeah, it's actually much more beneficial for him now that he knows that obviously Down's got a few more laps on his tyres as far as freshness. So it's beneficial for him just to get back in behind Down and just push on with it. So run his own race. He's thinking about his strategy. And the good thing is, looking at those times, he's on the exact same fuel as what Down is too.
Yeah, and exactly. So obviously you have to put a little bit more in later on because of he's obviously been on it for a couple of laps, so he's burnt that little bit of extra fuel. I think there's a couple of laps extra fuel that he's got. So let's look through. That is the pit stop. Michael Warren has just come down pit lane, so he stopped, and that is the cycle done. So let's see what Down can do. He's got his teammate Warren right in back behind him, so nothing has changed between those two, but there is a lot more cars in this train than I think they would have wanted at this stage.
Absolutely. You'd think it was almost planned like that, wouldn't you? Their plan has come together. It's worked out nicely for them. But now on the back of Jordan Ross, who had a brilliant race last time out. You can see, look at the gap that Myers has got over Phil Self, 5.6 seconds. So yeah, it's handy to have in your back pocket, isn't it?
It's a nice bit of under fuel, obviously, that he's done. He's put in a little bit less fuel, and now it's put himself out in front. It could be the move to put him into second, mind you. You got to think that those guys they were all matching the same pace, but now he's got clear air. He's not in a train. He can do what he wants to do. He's got half the race already ticked off and done. He's just got to get to the rest of it, and he can come in and short pit whenever he wants to. It opens the strategy game from here on out now, because you can make it from here. This is the critical lap. You can make it. At the end of lap 26, that's it. You can make it to the end. So you can pit from here on out, and you're done.
Yeah, and I absolutely love the way it is playing out at the moment, because obviously he's got that margin. He knows he can see how that gap fluctuates a little bit as his tyres, go through that dead section. The first few laps are crucial to look after him, but I like that he's got that much through. You can see a little bit of a run down here the front straight. The draft is key. He's going to get the move up the inside nice and clean so far. A move on the TTR, guys. He's now on the outside, so Ethan gets the job done. But boy, oh boy, hard work when you're on the outside of that chicane.
Ethan Grigault just set the fastest lap of the race last time around too, so he was aiming a move down into turn number 1. He wasn't going to have and sit and wait. Now will he have a look down into Ethan Warren into the De La Roggia chicane? He thought about it. There was a little hint of movement to the inside, but he's just going to sit in behind and wait. But down with the fresher tyres on Jordan Ross, only by 1 lap. Will he maybe just try and get around him? Does he think Ross has the speed? Obviously, to gain Phil Cell, they've not lost a lot of time to Phil Cell, but it's Myers who was really just cruising out in front, I should say.
Yeah, rolled the dice, got some good gap, but I reckon he might be happy just to sort of sit for a lap or two and just see what Jordan's pace is like, and obviously take that opportunity to save a little bit. He's got his teammate again like before, just pushing him, so he'll be able to roll out of the throttle there and save a little bit more fuel. So I think from their point of view, they may just hold that position just for a lap or two to see how it plays out.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if they do play it like that. Just relax a little bit now that first pit stop window is gone and it has cycled through. But Phil Cell's got a lot of work to do. He did gain about 1.2 seconds last time around on Brady Myers. So he's pushing as we look at Brady Kostecki looking to the inside of Jake Burton, and job done into the Parabolica. That was a good move. Moved himself up into the 7th position. And I don't think Burton will... He may have a look, but you got to remember Burton's tyres are roughly 6 to 7 laps older than Kostecki, and that will be playing a big hamper on his pace because we said the tyre drop-off is basically 2 to 3 laps as this battle in front. Ross down, they're side by side. We said he was going to wait. No, Down doesn't want to wait. He's going to get the job done into turn number 1, and Ethan was trying to go with him, but he had Grigault on the outside, and he's going to take that position.
Yeah, that split that TTR duo up too, so that obviously didn't work out great for Ethan Warren, but yeah, boy, it got nice and close on exit there, didn't it?
A little bit tight, a little bit tighter than I think they all would have wanted. Will Ethan have a look? No,
touch maybe? No. Jeez, it was almost a Danny Rick braking manoeuvre, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He made so much under brakes.
I think Ethan Grigault was hesitant with Ross sort of rolling out of the throttle and didn't want to make a move himself, but that actually really opened the door quite comfortably for Ethan Warren to maybe throw it down the inside, but he just backed out of it. He knew if he did it at that stage, there was going to be contact and it would have ended in a penalty. So he thought better, just cruise it up. It would have been hard on the brakes to get the car stopped, but he did a good job to do that. As here comes Grid Gold looking to the inside of Jordan Ross into the Ascari chicane, and done. Move himself up into that 4th position. Grid Gold wants to go with down. He doesn't want to wait.
Absolutely. I think you'll see Warren do the same thing too. He'll see that his teammates starting to gap away a little bit, so he'll be keen to get that job done on Ross as well. But he'll start thinking about it here. Does he think about a dive? No. He'll settle it probably just for a nice dive into the first chicane.
He had a little look though. He definitely was thinking about it. I think he had the run on Jordan Ross to maybe do it. Now he's got a really good run. Look at the exit through the middle of the parabolic as the exit. That was so much better drive traction out of the TTR Commodore for Ethan Warren. He had a look to Ross, but Ethan Gringold's actually given Ross the toe. So there's the toe advantage, and it's all gone. Will he have a dive? No, he won't. But Ethan Gringold was like, well, Ross got the worst run. I don't want Warren to get past. And as I say that, Ethan Gringold ran a little bit deeper. Oh, look at the bump. A little bit of a bump through the mid-corner, and he's opened it up to a move.
So he's now on the outside, Ethan Warren, of this move, but he'll set himself up for if he can just hold on a little bit, he'll have the inside run for the chicane, but I don't know if he's got much. Ross has got great speed on the inside, and now he'll cover going into the braking zone.
Is he going to move it over? No, he doesn't, Warren.
He left it open.
Big dive. Job done.
Well, I expected him to move over and shut the door, Ross, but he didn't. I don't know, maybe he's just feeling something a little bit different with that car and he didn't want to put too much of a fight on. But nevertheless, that Ethan will be pretty happy with that now, because he can see that Down was starting to get away. So he'll tack on the back of Ethan Gringold now and try and close up that gap.
Yeah, we'll just follow them through now. And as I saw that behind, Maloney actually got past Jake Burton. So Burton and Gilliam, who were basically at the front of this train when they all sort of came out, with Ross there as well, have fallen to the back. The older tyres, sorry, I should say, not helping them right now as they just sort of fall off the back of this train. But they'll come in early and get that benefit of an undercut later and hopefully jump them all again. So we could see that whole battle again. But there's Myers, Phil Sell in at P number 2. Then it is this train, which is sort of a little bit broken up. But down leads that Ethan Gringold will still be getting the benefit of draft roughly 0.8 of a second back. So he'll be getting that benefit with Ethan Warren as he's on the flashy headlight button. So Down, just maybe sending some signals out there.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about, whether that was a mistake or what. It didn't look like there was anyone there in front of him that's going to be close as far as holding him up. But nevertheless, it's all about eyes forward now. Now, what do they do now as far as Burton, as far as tyres? Because obviously they're not holding on as well as he would have hoped, and they probably fell off a little bit quicker than I expected. So does he go short and then try to look after him to the end? I'm not sure if that will be the case, because we can see just how much of an advantage the fresher tyres are.
Yeah, fresher tyres are a massive advantage, and as we look a bit further back, a couple of the guys that have had some hard luck. So Lee Atlas with a lot of damages from his pinball machine that was earlier on at the end of the front straight. Greg Pavel, Taipan Esports, currently in 32nd position with a rather clean car. Kept his nose cleared, being able to move up a couple of positions and actually move up a position to see himself in 32nd. But this battle, Richie Stanaway with Adam Hayne looking to the inside, and Stanaway's been able to hold on to that position. 7 spots gained for him. Blake Wallboys has actually lost a couple of positions in this fighting, but let's see, he's got the run out of the first chicane through Curva Grande, like you said, on that outside for Curva Grande, but now he's going to be on the inside for the Della Roggia chicane. No, rolls out, thinks better of it. Well, didn't have the run that he would have wanted to get the job done on Adam Hayne.
Yeah, he thought about it. You could see he was going to think about it, but as soon as Hayne shut that door, he's like, okay, yeah, I can see. I know what battles to fight and what not to, so it was just smart to go single file. So no losses still, and like I said, we're still thinking about that next pit stop, that compulsory pit stop that they have to make before the end of the race, and we've got 20 laps to go.
Yeah, 20 laps to go, so it's in that window now. As we said, the critical lap was lap 26, so we're well in the window to come down on the pit lane, get the fuel and tyres needed to get to the end. As we look at this battle for P number 4, Ethan Gringold, Ethan Warren right in behind. Oh, that was dicey. Ethan Gringold was following Down in front, who was actually trying to move over to give Warren the tow. But Warren wasn't alongside enough, but he got the job done on a braking, moved himself up into P number 3, and the TTR guys rejoice at joining back up together.
Absolutely, they'll be loving that. But are they worried? Because there's 7.5 seconds back now. You can see Phil Sells now really close that margin down to 1.6 seconds to the back of Myers. So I'm keen to see when these guys roll the dice as far as this next pit stop and how it plays out. I think that margin may be too much. 7.5 seconds is a lot of work to close that gap up.
I think it's going to be roughly 10 seconds, give or take, in the window cycle for Myers and Down. So that we did it. I'm expecting Down to come up, Myers, sorry, to come up around Ross in that sort of a window. But if they keep battling, they could move themselves back. But Phil Sell, he has been closing in, charging down, using those fresh tyres to close the gap to Brady Myers. He had a 4-lap advantage on the tyres. So let's see. You'll get the job done quite easily, but then that's going to actually help Myers just tow himself along, because he can use Phil Sell as a sort of a hook and chain and grab on the back and go.
Well, that too, but you know, you also see drivers where they'll catch up to that leading car, and then because they know they've got no pressure from behind, instead of leading and given the tow to Brady, he'll just sit there and say, well, I'll just sit behind you and I'll save a little bit.
Yeah, you could do that, but will Phil Sell do that? It's one of those things of, and he could save as much fuel as he wants to. We know he's going to have this car in front, but the guys behind are roughly the same, if not a little bit quicker, depending on how much draft they get. Like last time around, a 50.4 from Brady Myers is a 49.6 from Jared Phil Sell. Yeah. So 0.8 of a second. And then the rest of them behind are doing a 50.3 at the lead of that train is Madison Down. Obviously, the guys in the tow are going to be a little bit quicker, so 49.6 from Warren, a 50.2, a 49.8 for Kostecki, a 50.0 for Ross and Rudd combined. So is it a fact of I don't want to be stuck behind him, because actually I'll start to lose a little bit of time that I had. He had a 5-second finish, so I don't think he's worried about that, but it plays in your mind.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, he pitted the same time as Down did. I think they took roughly about the same fuel, so they're pretty much on the same strategy. Plus, he's got that time advantage up his sleeve. So I think he can afford to be patient, and it won't sort of play too much. You know, the way it's looking, it looked like he may have the race in the bag. But, you know, obviously we never know. Races are very unpredictable, and you just never know what might play out. But, you know, at the moment, I think they're going to have their work cut out for him to try and stop Phil Sell.
I think they will too. I think it's going to be hard to stop him as Jordan Ross. That looked like he may have a slowdown, and that it is. If not, he had a massive mistake out of Lesmo too, but he's dropped in behind Dylan Rudd, and now I think that's Maloney looking to the inside, and he's actually got the job done too before the corner. So I think that could have been a slowdown for Ross. So he's lost 2 positions, which is crucial, especially if they've lost the toe to Kostecki because of it.
I wonder if his car's hurting too, because he has been starting to slip down the order a little bit. You know, we said that Ross was in 3rd roughly before all that happened, but then once he started to drop a couple of positions, he just seems to be falling back a little bit. So I wonder if there is just, you know, something's not quite right with that car, that he's not too happy about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't suspect it would change. Obviously, tyre pressures, usually you run the same tyre pressures regardless of whether it's off or not. And as I look, Phil Sell and Myers, they've swapped positions, out in front, so the lead has changed. Phil Sell under brakes into turn number 1. Pretty easy job for him. Now he can try and scoot away out in front of that Boost Mobile Commodore. And this is the good position for Myers as Ethan Gold and Ethan Warren are on it, and there open the door for Kostecki. We knew that was going to happen. If those two kept fighting like they did, Kostecki was then a watching brief, gains 1 position on Ethan Gold. Now he can have a crack at Ethan Warren.
Yeah, don't you love it as a driver when you start catching a group of cars and then they start fighting and they almost gift it to you? It's like, you beauty, I get the job done and get a free spot. So he's now brought into the thick of this, taken onto the back of that Down and Warren train for these guys. So he'll be pretty happy with the way his race is planned out, especially after the run that he had the last round.
He's done a good job, actually. He started 10th in qualifying, so he's made up a handful of positions to move himself up into P number 5. He's done a good job to get himself there. But Ethan Grigot will be a little bit upset, I think. He was trying to get that move on Warren. He's been trying to keep it behind Down, and now he's lost the spot to Kostecki. And you know Kostecki's going to put up a hard fight, and Kostecki will be wanting to get a move on Warren. So it's hard now. A lot of work for Ethan Grigot to do to try and get back up into what could be a podium position, dependent on where Myers comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I was a team manager for Ethan, I'd just be in his ear and say, look, it's all right. We're not having a bad day so far. Where if he can just stay latched on to Kostecki, I think he'll still be in a good brief, as far as the next pit stop. So it's not all loss. Obviously, you don't want to give up positions like that, but he's still in a really good position. And it'll be interesting to see if he decides just to sit or whether he starts to think about attacking Kostecki.
Yeah, whether he tries to make a move and get the job done and make that position on Kostecki. And the issue is you don't want to let Warren get away. He's going to get that gain on down. It's one of those things. We look a little bit further back. That was Jones, Rosella, and now this is Josh Anderson in a world of his own. And it's so odd.
A little bit lonely for him, isn't he? He's just sort of out there. He hasn't got too many friends around him, but he hasn't got anyone slowing him up. So that's always a good thing. But he also hasn't got a drafting partner.
It's just weird. He was in all the battle packs before, and now he's been left by himself. But that could be the different fuel strategy. There's a lot going to play out, and it's sort of good when you want to play your own little strategy game like that. You can sit out there, be in front in your own little air bubble, and gain the time you want to gain without getting hindered. So you know that middle stint, you've put in your best effort, unless you make a mistake. But obviously these guys are all high caliber. They drive this car all the time. They know what it does in and out. Usually they can drive the car at 10 tenths the entire time, and I don't know how, but you know that Anderson in that bubble can do his best middle stint and gain the time that he can try and gain while there's other guys fighting.
Absolutely. It hasn't Phil Sell had a cracker of a season. It's only round 4, but he's almost looking unstoppable at the moment. He's really had a stellar start to this season. Obviously, things didn't go ideally for him round 1, but he was really in the thick of it in contention for the win. But the consistency that he's been able to string together for these first couple of rounds has been brilliant and really starting to put a bit of a stranglehold, and it's only round 4 of this championship.
Exactly. Only round 4, and we're already talking about Phil Sell pretty much being the dominant factor in this championship so far. He's been out in front, like you said. Obviously didn't win Sebring, but he put it to what will be one of the all-time greatest races I think we've ever seen in Supercar land at Sebring at the finish between him and Burton. That was crazy. So I don't think anything's going to be that, and he's got the race 1 winner actually behind him of Brady Myers. So I don't think Phil Sell will be too unhappy with how his season's gone, and at the moment he's putting on a clinic out there tonight. Myers is trying to hold on to him. He has done a really good job actually in doing so, and this is, like I said to you, Sandman, before, it's helping him gain that little bit of time. He was only less than a tenth slower than him last time around. He's actually been able to hold on really well.
Absolutely, and if he can just keep in that draft, that'll benefit him too. He's not giving up to how good is it when those cars are on 2 wheels through there. It's like a photographer's dream sitting through there, but it's hold your breath stuff when you're in the driver's seat when you see the cars bounce up over the curbs like that. But absolutely love it. That's a great corner and a great camera angle there for Luke.
Pit crew nightmare as you look at that. Oh, look at the slow-mo. Luke on the camera is getting the job done. It's a nightmare when you're the mechanics at the workshop and you go, oh, don't break any suspension arms, don't break anything on these curves. But, it's the love and hate relationship with racing. But yeah, he's done a really good job at doing it. And here we go. Kostecki and Warren. Oh, Kostecki's got Warren, so job done for Kostecki. He's moved himself up another position. I did see them switch, but I didn't know if he had completed the move, but he has done. So now he's leading this second train to try and chase down Madison down. He's got 9 tenths of a second over Kostecki. I'm sure Brady will be able to close that down with the draft.
Yeah, he's looking pacey, isn't he, too? So, yeah, he'll be feeding off the fact now that he's got that tow from Madison in front of him. And, again, a bit of a train happening behind him. Look how many cars are lined up where you got Kostecki. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's brilliant close racing between all these guys, but just hoping to grab that tow, and I'm keen to see when do they leave it to their pit stop. Well, as you see, one of the cars in the background, they've already decided to make pit lane. That's Gilliam, is it?
Yeah, it was Andrew Gilliam. So he was one of the earlier ones to pit in that first pit stop cycle. So he's done roughly 21 laps on this second stint and has brought it in to serve his compulsory pit stop. And as I say that, a couple of other guys are doing it too. So we're back in that. I knew it wouldn't be long. We're back in the second pit stop phase. And as I say that, Josh Anderson was right locked up in the background of the Cool Drive Mustang. He got it stopped. Hopefully he didn't get the speeding fire, but he was right sideways on entry. Now he's going to get his second pit stop done on the way. So this is now going to cleanse the field. We're going to find out who is where. But this big battle pack right now, this is the factor that we've been talking about. Look, it's just cars and cars that keep going through that chicane in the background. This is a massive group of cars that Myers has to somewhere fit in.
It's catch-22, isn't it, as we just check out a replay. Look at this dart into pit lane, locking it up just as he hits the line. Oh, it's close. You'd want a radar gun on there to see how he went, but you don't care about the tyres coming to pit lane because at the end of this, they're coffee tables, mate. We don't care about them. So throw them off, get a new set on, but you've got to be careful about that speeding in pit lane. You don't want to get that, especially in the dying stages of this race.
Exactly, and it could ruin your whole race. One speeding penalty and that's it, it's done. So, and you can't get it back. There's not enough time to gain that back right now. Under 15 laps to go, and as they come across, it'll be 14 laps left, so definitely won't be able to gain any time. As Jamie Dyke moving over to let these leading cars through, and has done a good job of that, go into the parabolic for this time around. And will any of these guys dive in pit lane? I reckon Burton will be the first one to blink of this lit. And as I say that, Kostecki just said, throw that in the bin, Jake. You don't want any of that. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to pit now.
Oh, that was close.
Oof.
Was that Burton?
It was Burton and Rudd, so I was right. Burton was I was 50% right, but Kostecki decided he wanted to play the undercard and come in, so he's now in the lane, but that was close. Dylan Rudd.
How late was the call, man? He dived in. Look at it, all locked up. Oh.
That was late.
He was umming and ahhing about staying out, but he dived in. Obviously, that he wanted, when he decided to make that pit stop, he saw the car in front of him and was pitting as well. You want to try and pit with someone, so when you're on exit, you've got that draft as well. So, man, late dive. Hopefully, he didn't get a pit lane speed penalty for that, but geez, it was close.
It was very close. I think he also could have seen Kostecki dive and went, I may need that as a drafting partner. Kostecki's been quick. He's been one of the quickest guys in this middle stint in that train. I think we can say he's made up position. He's been able to move himself behind Madison down. He's been super fast. Have a look at Maloney and Ross. How about the fuel save from Maloney then? All through between Lesmo 1 and 2 just rolled out. There's just no throttle. I don't need that. I'll use that down here.
Yeah, save it for when I need it. If you don't need it through there, don't worry about it.
Who needs fuel when you can just roll out as he does? So Maloney now going to try and wonder whether these guys are going to pit. They've got to react. We know what fresh tires, can do to you. It's under 13, 14 laps in the stint. So the guys are going to be going hard. This is like we said, that middle stint. We thought that some of them could play it. Now they're going to play it in this they did really 10 laps in that middle stint from when they pitted. Now they're going to go hard again for 14 laps. So these guys are going to be pushing pretty hard.
Yeah,
they need to cover.
Looks like Myers is in pit lane too, so he started in making his pit stop. Looks like Greg Galt's in there as well.
And they too, as Ross and Maloney come in too. So yeah, a couple of people having to cover off those early pit stop. It could have changed the strategy by a couple of laps, but I think this is what we expected. A short 14-lap sprint to the end, Sam, and if this battle is still as close as it is, this could really spice it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only ones that may go a little bit longer, you might see Field Cell maybe go a little bit longer, just have those fresher tyres at the end. And of course, it's like you said, people react how everyone else that you're racing is. They go off the game plan, what they do. If they decide to pit, then you'll change your strategy to pit just so you don't lose out on that tyre strategy. As you see Kostecki now darting his way down the main straight, so he's making up those positions now as those guys are in the pit lane.
And here comes Myers and Grigol actually came out identical, so they're actually phasing through each other, which can happen. So they've got to and that's actually thrown Myers off. So that's going to be a slowdown penalty. Myers' brilliant second stint is all going to go by the wayside. He's going to get the draft though of Kostecki. He just needs to roll out. And as you hear him just rolling out, getting rid of that slowdown penalty, but he needs to stay onto the back of Kostecki. You can see him back on the throttle now. He should have that cleared. He's going to break it a little bit earlier to get rid of whatever he has left and get it in. But he came out with Ethan Grigol, so the strategy worked well. Just when you're phasing in like that out of a pit stop window, it can be a little bit off-putting, but Grigol has got himself in front of Kostecki.
You could see, I think, when he saw that he was in that phasing, he wanted to pull out, but he saw the blend line. So you watch this, I think you actually see him jolt to the left a little bit, and he realises the blend line's there, and he knows that he can't cross that. So you can see him here, he looks to the right, thinks about a little bit move to the left there, and he goes, blend line, can't do that. It would have been probably safer if he just got right out of the throttle, but nevertheless, it's easier said than done when you're up here in the commentary box.
Exactly. It's easier we can say, just do this and do that. But, when you're, especially the driver, this strategy has worked. I've got myself in front of Ethan Grigol. I put myself in a podium position. you don't want to lose that. As these guys, Kobe Jones and Brendan Hobson, bumping down into the Ascari chicane. You know you don't want to lose that time you've just worked so hard to gain. So he's like, I can get in front of him, I'll just brake a little bit later, and it threw him off. So a little bit of a mistake there from Myers, but he's right in this thing now for a podium position as we ride on board with Kobe Jones. Will he have a look at Hobson? I'm suggesting that these guys probably will be coming down pit lane soon, considering these guys have pitted. So as I look at my timing sheet a little bit more in-depthly, these two have pitted, so these guys fueled, ready to go to the end. So just trying to see if they can gain anything. I've got Tom Freer behind Griffin Gardner as we look at that old run of that, how old that track is. Imagine if we could run there.
I love that banking part of this racetrack. That is so much fun. I just wish that was something that we were able to race on in real life. But man, it's so interesting and exciting that we've brought that into the iRacing service. But man, how I would have loved to have seen racing back on that in the day.
It would have been awesome, especially with how fast some of those guys going around that place. And you look at the state of it. But that adds to the characteristic of what Monza is and what this place is as a racetrack. As we look a bit further back in the field, Benjamin Smith, who's been steadily just losing some positions and gaining back what he can in his pit stop cycle. Had a couple of incidents as well as Josh Thomas tried to make a move and he was able to hold on. He's had some speed, but just unable to capitalize with a couple of mistakes. That has hurt him, but Josh Thomas from Sender Sports, in there. And as we look, Madison down into the pits for his second and last compulsory pit stop.
And look at how it's played out so far. So Phil Sell, the leader, down currently in second. He's just making his way down pit lane, like you said. Greg Galt third, Kostecki in fourth. So that's really jumped up Kostecki. He's had a good charge in this last part of the race, and that's really benefited for him at this stage. So keen to see what the distance is like when it comes out, when Madison's off the chocks and down out of the pit lane. So it's going to be close on exit, but keen to see how it is.
And as we were looking at the great historic of this racetrack, the others had pitted last time around. So Myers actually came in front of Warren. Came in just behind Myers. He's going to lose out. He's lost a lot of time here. He's only just rejoined, and he's actually going to be behind these two TTR teammates as Warren to the inside of Myers, and that's going to be job done, and move himself up into P number 4 as Phil Sell, the only person not to pit. But there's down. He's lost a lot of time to that leading group, so it hasn't worked out for him. That extra lap has cost him so much time.
That shocked me. So, and sorry, I was talking over you there because I was just like, I couldn't. That surprised me. I didn't think he'd fall back that far.
Yeah, no.
I thought he had P2, but wow, it's still not over. He's obviously got 10 laps where he can charge, but he's almost within sort of a lap or two of what the same tyre deck as everyone else has got now. So he's going to be in a little bit of struggle street if he pushes too hard on these first couple of laps, because you still need to look after him, just so hopefully you've got a little bit more over what everyone else has got.
Thing is as well, everyone is pushing hard.
Yeah.
Not a lot of these guys obviously doing their best laps as Phil Sell comes in the lane to do his final pit stop of the night, but these guys are pushing hard. 49.1s, there was a couple of 49.2s, so they're throwing the tyres out after this. They know that Ethan Grigol, currently the effective race leader in terms of two pit stops, but Phil Sell, I'm sure, will have a commanding lead once he pits, and we'll see. I reckon 7, 8, maybe 10 seconds he could have over the rest of the field.
Yeah, in saying that too, these guys have had fresher tyres, so they've had a little bit of a run and probably been able to close that little gap. So Phil Sell looks like he's on exit now, so it'll be interesting to see that gap. But looks like his teammate Kostecki's got his work cut out for him, as it looked like Warren was trying to make a move. Didn't quite get the job done, but he is in the tow. He will think about a move up the inside here. He's got right up behind him. It's almost bump draft as they come down the front straightaway. Yep, he goes to cover, but he's going to have to go around the outside if he wants it, and he got it.
Kostecki lifted and just said, you know what, we need to try and gain the time to Ethan Grigol. I'm not going to lose time in the middle of the chicane, I'm just going to let you go. So he thought, you know what, let's back out of this, roll out before the Retafilio chicane and let Ethan Warren go so he can try and close down that gap. It's actually good, smart heads-up driving from Brody Kostecki to think of that as we look at an SSR train with a Vendevil sim racing car at the back of it. It's a bunch of them. Kobe Jones, Brenton Hobson, Tom Freer, Luke Rosella, and that's Griffin Gardner at the back of this train. It's just outside the top 10.
So in the dying laps, I just wonder if anyone's got anything. That's too much of a margin now for Phil Sell. That's 7 seconds. I think the battle is now just for second. But can Down bounce back? Obviously, back is in 6th place, but he's still got his work cut out for him. Sort of 3-4 seconds off these guys for second. So interesting to see how this is all unfolded. That's actually caught me by surprise. I didn't think he'd lose that much when it came round to pit stops. I expected him sort of to be in a comfortable second or third.
I thought so too. As we look through at the field coming through on your screen there, just went Madison down with Burton, Maloney, Rudd, who's had an awesome drive, Jordan Ross there as he came through. I think it was Greg Favell, one of the lap down cars, and there is Gilliam, who was behind Burke, and then there was that train, Kobe Jones, Brenton Hobson, Freer, Rosella, and Gardner. We've got to think as well, Burke should have to come down pit lane again. He does, yes. So Burke is a little bit off sequence as Anderson back in his own little world at the moment, all by himself again. But yeah, I didn't expect it as he goes. Actually, Warren, the fastest lap of the race at 48.9 last time around, and here he goes, going to make a move down the inside into the Retafilio chicane on Ethan Griggold, and he has moved himself up into P2 with a clean pass on Ethan Griggold.
Yeah, car looks good, and like you said, he's just put the fastest lap down. So he's obviously doesn't need to have anything in reserve now. It's pushed to the end now. You don't have to worry about what you've got and saving anything for the end. Clearly, he's inside a fuel window. That's nothing to worry about, but he's just got to see if he can hold on for P2. But it's going to be a good battle over the next couple between the two Ethans.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle. The Ethans, we said they were going to have a battle off the start, and they've been stuck together pretty much the whole race. Besides, there's no doubt in this one now leading Warren. So I think it's going to be a key factor. The track has actually cooled off 49 degrees now, so it's dropped roughly 9 degrees since the start of this race. Which will mean that the tyres will have a little bit of better grip at the end of this race, as the track will obviously rub it in as well. But Warren out in front for P2, I should say. Group Gold second. Kostecki's there. Myers is still in that tow. He could definitely gain something if he wants to. If these guys trip up over themselves, we saw it happen at Sebring. He could just steal a P2 out. Yeah, absolutely. And still, yeah, plenty of laps to go. He's still within that we'll call it the DRS train, even though we don't have DRS, but you know what we're talking about. And Down's there too. So anything can happen, and usually does sometimes here in the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. But really looking forward to seeing if they can bounce back, especially Down. Surprised how much gap he's lost, but Warren's now keen as to try and push on. I don't think he's obviously not going to make up that ground to Phil Sell, but keen to hold on to second place. I don't think anyone's going to make the ground up to Phil Sell when he just does a 48.6 without draft. Is there no? There's no one around him. Hats off to Phil Sell. That's just like, yep, this is what I can do, and that's job done. That's a masterclass right there to go and punch that lap out when the guys just did a 48.9 behind with tow. So Phil Sell with a 48.6. 06. That's very well done for Phil Sell, and currently has a 9-second lead. He can cruise to the end if he wants to now, Sam. Mate, absolutely. I'm almost jealous because as a race car driver, that's just pretty the best position, isn't it? You know, you're in the dying stages of this race. You've had it pretty much sewn up for the entire night. You're doing it pretty easy. You just belt out the fastest lap, and he hasn't got any tow. So he's just hitting all his markers, his eyes forward, and he's just counting down the laps. It's pretty cruisy for him. He's had another masterclass drive. We said it last week. He did really well. Him and Brody working together to get the 1-2 and the 1-2-3 for SSR last week. Now he's got himself out in front and done it all, not by himself, but by himself in a sense. As we look further back, Wayne Burke having a look at Ben Smith. So Burke, he just put on fresh tyres. So he has the fresher rubber amongst anyone at the moment. He's going to have a look around the outside of Curva Grande. This is going to set him up perfectly for the Della Roggia chicane. Down the inside, Smith's going to roll out of it and let him Burke go. He knows that one's not going to be worth fighting with the fresher tyre. Absolutely. You just do yourself more harm than good when you take on someone when there's that much of an advantage with the tyre. So good heads-up race, and just he knows he's been beat with that one, so it's just eyes forward and try to hold off the rest of the cars, because it looks like it's getting a little bit racy behind him. Yeah, it's getting a little bit racy. It's been like that for 90% of this race, to be honest. There's been a lot of battling going on, and with all the battle packs that have been forming as we look at this, the SSR battle pack, I should say, has formed up on the outside of the top 10 as Kobe Jones has got behind him it was Freer and Hobson side by side. Rosella's the watching brief, who we spoke about earlier, had a good sort of middle stint, not been able to do it as there is a battle. There's a lot going on for P2. We'll get onto that as Hobson riding on board Rosella on the inside, going to make the move down into turn number 1, and Hobson's going to open the door. He's not going to make that too hard on his teammate.
Yeah, it's good when you start battling teammates. You know everyone's going to sort of give each other a little bit of room. It starts to be a bit of fun too when they know obviously they're out of contention for the race win, but they're all bunched up together. They can push each other and just have a good go of it. But it's like Hobson has dropped. He was running a little bit light there. Yeah.
I think that could have been a slowdown. If you cut the inside of that turn 1 chicane, you can get a little bit of a slowdown. So it looks like he could have got that and just slowing himself up just enough to get back onto the thing. But and as I say that, 40 having a dive on Josh Thomas, who has cut the chicane. So that's going to be a slowdown for him. And ZF4 he's got now one of the other Senate Sim Sports cars looking to the inside. That's Todd Hayne, and then there's another one of Marcelo Rivera of ERT. So it's the ERT versus Senate Sim Sports battle going on, and these boys going to help each other. Is Rivera going to have a look to the inside of 40 years? And the ERT Commodore not going to go side by side to the second chicane.
How good was that racing there in the dying stages? These guys just giving it at each other, just having a ball, just making the most of their night. And, obviously hasn't gone their way, but good to see good elbows out racing. Love it.
Good to see them battle. Stanaway not had a good second meeting, I should say. Yeah, he's gained some positions, but a little bit further back than I think he would have wanted, currently in 28th position behind Blake Warboys. But this battle was what I was mentioning before. Something happened to Warren the last time around. Yeah, Warren lost the spot to Ethan Grigol. I think it was down here into turn number 1 as Myers and Down go at it. That is for B number 5 and Down. I'm surprised. I thought they were going to just switch it and let it be, but Myers fought him on that one and did a really good job, hold the position over Down and hold P number 5. But yeah, something must have happened last time around because Warren lost the position to both himself, to Ethan Grigol and Kostecki. So now he's got a lot to do to try and get them back.
Yeah, I think the beauty of that battle is that he's still right on the tail of Kostecki. So, hopefully he can get that back. But does he want to try and make that move too early? Because we've seen just how important the slipstream is. If you get it here, with 5 laps to go, if you pass it, they might sit for a lap or two and get you with a lap or two to go, and you might not get that opportunity to make the pass again. So sometimes you'll see drivers just sit back and wait. As we look at the replay, into the chicane, or he got up on the curb. Did he get a slowdown? No.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. So you can see him riding the tail lights there. So absolutely, that's cost him big time.
Yep, a little mistake there from Ethan Warren while in. Looked like he had a little bit of a gap towards Ethan Grigol, so he may have pulled out a couple of car lengths. So he's definitely got the speed at the moment. Kostecki sideways off the Ascari chicane. Managed to hold on to it, did a good job, but I think Warren was maybe trying to set himself up for a move. Now he's going to have to think about the front chicane, into the first chicane, as there's Sean McNamara, who's actually going to be giving a little bit of toe help to Ethan Grigol, even though we know he wants to stay out of the fight. And as he does so, he's just going to pull over to the right and let these guys go. But look at that, Ethan Grigol searching for that toe, anything to get any advantage he can.
Absolutely. Everyone's an opportunist here, and if they can get that slightest bit of toe, they'll take it. Absolutely, that's for sure. But Warren's got to worry about not letting Kostecki sort of slow each other up, because if Greg Galt starts to pull away, he might get the job done on Kostecki, but he'll be running out of laps to get the job done on Greg Galt. So he's got to be smart about it and get the job done, as we are lap 46 of 50.
Yeah, not many laps to go, only 5 laps to go as Burton is going to hold that position. Dylan Ryder's had a really good drive currently inside this top 10, fighting side by side with Jake Maloney, and Maloney going to get the job. Whoa, I thought there was... It's always tight when you go through Curva Grande, and here comes that draft back that Dylan Rudd's going to get, and he's going to roll out of it. So good job from Maloney. Moves himself up into P number 8 for now. There is only 5 laps left, and these guys are starting to get a little bit antsy on their positions. It doesn't matter out in front, though. Phil Cell 11 seconds over that battle pack for second. I think he's got this one comfortably, but it's all to play for in that second, and then we'll have a look at that gap, actually. There's Phil Cell as he goes through into the Ascari chicane, and where's Ethan? There he is. I found him. So there is P number 2, and that's just showed the drive and dominance from Phil Cell. But there's Ethan Grigol, Kostecki, Warren, Myers, Down, all in that second battle pack. And that's going to be the one I think we're all going to be watching till the end of this race.
Yeah, as much as a great job Jared's done, it's going to be, we
94
probably won't see too much of him now in the
please.
dying laps. It looks like he's got
46.
it pretty much sewn up, and the battle here is here for the last couple of steps on the podium. A great little battle between Grid Gold,
thanks, Tom,
Kostecki, Warren, Myers and Down. As we come into the closing stages of round 4 here at Monza, it's turned out to be a cracker of a race as we check out the replay. Again, look at these Logitech cars all moving around, coming into the chicane. Giving each other a spare bit of room. That's good to see. Just as I say that, a little bit of contact. So point the right direction. It's tagged the car as well. That's obviously got ugly, and then they're sitting there just holding their breath. Hopefully they don't get collected by anyone else.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. It was like the three ART Commodores trying to like sort themselves out, and then Todd Hayne was like, "Well, I'm here too," and
Jeez, I thought Phil Seller's going to go around then. He had his tyres off onto the grass. That got a little bit squirrely, but geez, that would have been embarrassing to have a 12-second lead and have that thing coming around on him.
Yeah, throw it around at Curva Grande, one of the corners where you'd expect not to be out that wide, but it's down the inside, goes down. Very aggressive move. He's going to give Myers the door, and they make contact.
Teammates have turned each other around. Madison has been spun. Not ideal. It obviously gets really tight, and they will be kicking themselves.
Don't want to be in the TTR paddock after that one. That's not something you want to do. Boys, what were you doing? Fighting hard. They're allowed to fight hard, but that was a little bit too hard between Down and Myers as we look back at a replay. Down, very aggressive down the inside, good late braking, and Myers just held it there, and then they made contact, and then he's got to stay on the racetrack. Contact's made, and a round goes down, and that one's, don't want to be in TTR after this.
What's the first rule with teammates?
Don't hit your teammate, and that was a lot of hitting between teammates.
Yeah, that's tricky, especially. We can see Kostecki's made a move up the inside. Nice dive under brake.
Late. Did he run wide?
Yep, he will. Big wide too. So that's going to give the grid. Both Warrens are going to try and get the job done. So it's all going to be about what sort of slipstream he can get. They're going to be side by side. They're going to be trying to see what toe he can get from Grid Gold in front of him. He still managed to hold on to that draft. There's a bit of a change now. So all of them swapping around in the dying stages of here round 4 at Monza. Who's going to go for a dive? And Kostecki's going to go around the outside. Is he going to get the job done? He pulls it up. Does he get sideways? He's off. That's a penalty for Kostecki. Take him out of that. He's going to try and save that as much as he can, but he's going to have to give up that track position.
Yeah, he tried to. Now he's going to try and give up the position and give up that time from the slowdown. He may have gotten away with it. We know how lenient the slowdowns can be a little bit later on in the race, obviously going off the fastest lap of the race. So he's going to slot him behind. As long as he can sit in the toe, there's still 3 laps to go, but it is getting hot between these guys. The two Ethans with a little bit of Brody Kostecki in the mix. It's going to come down to that last lap, that last dive. He had a massive dive into the Parabolica chicane. It was very late on the brakes though, Sam, man. Definitely wasn't going to get that one pulled up.
Absolutely. He did a great job, but unfortunately, just in the dying stages of that corner, he was just carrying a little bit too much speed, overcooked it, but he did a good job actually to readdress, get that penalty served and not lose too much ground. That is a bit of an art too, isn't it? We speak about getting these time penalties. You can give up that time penalty and sometimes not lose too much track position. As you can see, he's still in this train, so that's worked out okay for him.
And there is a definite art when you've got enough slowdowns as I have, and I'm sure you have as well in your time on every single track that this loves to throw at you, depending on whether it's a TCR car or a supercar or anything. You will definitely learn of how to get rid of those slowdowns efficiently and effectively, and that's what Kostecki did. But Warren around the outside of the Parabolica, and now the two Ethans are going to go side by side down the front straightaway. Kostecki's just licking his lips. 2 laps to go, and this has brought him right back into it.
Mate, he's loving this. You watch. I reckon he's going to make a dive here because he's going to get such a good toe down this. He's got the run. Plus, these guys didn't get all the best moves. So, will he dive right to the inside and make it 3 wide under braking? Yes, he will. Look at him. I told you he'd do it. He shoved it up the inside. He's just got to get it pulled up 3 wide into the chicane, giving each other plenty of room. How good is this racing here at Monza?
No contact, or as I say that, as I mentioned contact, a little bit on exit, but Kostecki with the dive bomb, it gets the job done on both of them. He pulled their pants down. Now look at Ethan Gold, he's going to have a look around the outside. Kostecki's going to defend, there's 2 laps to go. He opened the door, but Gold not close enough, but will he try and shove it? No, he doesn't. They've made contact, and they've made even more contact. Kostecki's gone.
Again. he was lucky to hold onto that Warren. I thought he was going to dive out, so get spun sideways when they made that contact. But how was the move? I called it coming down the front straight. I said Kostecki was going to think about that move up the inside three-way, and look at him go. Brilliant move from the Boost Mobile Commodore. Shoves it up the inside. They all give each other a bit of room on exit, and that was just, how good was that? Loved it.
What a move from Kostecki. 100% the move of the race. Moves himself in the second. He's gone because they're too busy focusing on themselves in the second chicane. He just went, I'm just going to come through and go. And that's what he did. He didn't need to worry about anything else because the two of them sorted themselves out and gave him basically the position. They were too busy worrying about themselves into this Della Roggia chicane that Kostecki was able to just pull a gap as we come up. Should be the last lap now for Jared Filsell. He'll be like, what happened behind me? I don't know. But Kostecki's second, so he's going to be ecstatic for that. Kostecki has gained 8 positions currently to sit in that P2 spot.
How good is this? We spoke about the SSR team 1, 2, 3 at the last round at Red Bull Ring. It looks like they're going to go for the 1-2 now. Fantastic drive from Kostecki. That was just brilliant move and great racing between all three of them with Kostecki, Greg Galt and Warren. But man, oh man, how did that all unfold without these guys sort of knowing it was going to happen? I don't know. But it hasn't stopped here. Back here, the two Ethans giving each other a little bit of bump. They've only got 3/4 of a lap to go.
He was pushing him through that chicane. I don't think Ethan wanted to give him any type of a run. As we look further back, the other SSR cars, the rest of them, all having a battle here. Kobe Jones, Luke Rosella looking to the outside as he goes, going to get the job done is Jones. Oh, they're side by side. No contact here either. But they sort themselves out and going to go single file out of the exit of that chicane. But I couldn't believe that the three of them made it work. With 3 wide in the turn 1 and they all somehow didn't make contact. That was well done from all of them.
Mate, brilliant stuff. Half a lap to go. They still haven't given up here between the two. This is the last step on the podium these guys are battling it out for. They know they can leave. They don't need to leave anything on the table now. Use up every little bit of rubber they've got. Use up the brakes as hard as they can. And now that's just a bit of a mind game. Who is going to be able to get the job done as we come to the checkered flag?
They all want to get on the podium, the last podium, before we have a little short break. For these guys, some of them won't have a break, but here we go. Greg Galt, Ethan Warren, Phil Sell's going to be somewhere up the road, but these two are going to be lining up. Here he is, coming out of the Parabolica, and what can we say about Jared Filsell that already hasn't been said? A sensational drive here in round 4 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. He takes Monza with the commanding leaders, Warren and Greg Galt, side by side out of the Parabolica. It's a drag race. Who's going to get the exit? Who's going to get the better drive traction? It looked like Greg Galt got it. Kostecki's going to come home in P2. Greg Galt with the drive traction gets the job done for ERT.
Wow, tremendous racing to the line. Well done for the top 3, and Warren battling it out with Greg Galt out of that final corner. Awesome drive. Absolutely brained him today for Filsell. I just can't believe the domination that he put together in this race, and well done for Kostecki to make it a 1-2 for SSR, and brilliant stuff. Just racing throughout this whole field. It was crucial. The draft played a big part in the way this all unfolded, but it's good times now for both Boost Mobile Commodores as they celebrate.
Are we going to rename the red affiliation? Oh, as we say that, they make
the only bit of contact that they've had all night. They've done it with each other.
They found each other. The only time they found each other was right then, as they're gonna go front to nose. Yeah, there they go. But we should name this the Boost Mobile chicane, not the red affiliate chicane now from here on out. But well done to both of them. Filsell, hats off to Filsell. What a drive from Jared tonight. No one could stop him. I think that showed his dominance that he's put on in the opening 4 rounds of this championship, and Kostecki was like, I'm right here too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these teams have, like you said, there's a little bit of a break before we head to round 5, and that'll probably help them just regroup a little bit to see what they can do to take it to Filsell. He's been so dominant, this year so far, but man, he showed him today and did it almost too easy. That margin that he had at the end was incredible. So he taught them all a lesson today, but hopefully everyone will sort of go back in the couple of weeks that they've got off now before the next round and think about what races they've got coming up and how they can take on Filsell as the rest of the championship unfolds.
And I think that's going to be one of the ones. How do you stop this man, Jared Filsell, from taking any more race results, as we will look through the race results here from round 4 at Monza? But what was one of those races that had everything. It didn't stop all the way to the end. It was Jared Filsell taking home the race victory here tonight for round 4 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational, leading home an SSR 1-2 and a Boost Mobile Racing 1-2 with Brady Kostecki with a tremendous drive to come home in P number 2. Ethan Gritgold in third with a tremendous battle between him and Ethan. The whole race, it didn't stop, it kept going, and they did an awesome job to finish that one, nearly side by side across the line. Brady Myers and Down, I'm sure they will be having some conversations later in the paddock between them two, coming home 5th and 6th. Burton, Maloney, Jordan Ross, Dylan Rudd comes home with a top 10. I think that's one of a standout drive as well from him. Gilliam, Freer, Rosella, Jones, Hobson, Gardner, Anderson with Kurt Stenberg in 18th, with Wayne Burke and Jack Boyd rounding out the top 20. And I think we should get started with our interviews, and I'm sure you'll be wanting to talk to him, Samban, and we'll start with you and Jared Filsell.
Jared Filsell, congratulations, mate. An absolutely dominant effort here for round number 4 at Monza. Mate, you must be absolutely stoked the way that race unfolded for you tonight.
Yeah, how good was that? Didn't have to battle anyone.
Almost looked too easy for you.
Oh, nah. It was definitely hard. I was working really hard in that first stint to try and break the draft to Madison. Once I broke that draft, you could really see the difference in lap speed between myself and then those little packer group of guys behind. So yeah, I just tried to drive the absolute tyres off it to get out in front there and break the draft, and then it was plain sailing, just having to avoid a few lap cars, and that was about it.
Now, I know coming into each round, everyone sort of gives themselves a bit of an idea and understanding of how their car is probably going to perform. Did you know sort of coming into this round that it was as good or as strong as it was?
Yes and no. It is... it's a bit of a lottery, really. You don't really know what anyone's got underneath them until you get into the server. So, we definitely thought we had a little bit of a rocket ship underneath the bonnet there. The car was very, very good. So I can't thank Brody enough. He probably had 14 variants of the setup this week. We stumbled upon one variant that we both liked, which was good. So yeah, that's it's a special setup actually. It's Wagenhick F truck. So yeah,
right.
Bit of a quirky name for a good setup.
Mate, at the end of the day, it worked, and it obviously worked for Kostecki too, because he came through the field to finish P2. It's another 1-2 for you guys.
Yeah, he had a really poor run in quali there. He towed me around for my pole lap, although it wasn't the greatest of laps. I offered him a tow on his laps, but he just couldn't put it together. So yeah, he definitely should have been further up the grid. His pace was very good, so could have been a little bit of a boost mobile shootout between us two if he got his act together in quali.
Well, he put on a show for us. We saw some great racing and a nice diving manoeuvre into the chicane that you have to go back and watch. That was pretty special. So well done, mate. It was a great show by you. It looked easy from the comms box, but you know, like you said, these races are never easy. But before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, obviously Bush, number one. He had the setup dialed. Obviously we delegated between each other and got that thing set up pretty nicely, as well as Boost Mobile. Pretty prominent team on the Supercars grid, so yeah, it's great to run their real world livery, as well as Erebus for their support as well as Jordan Ross as well. He's Wave Runner Performance Center. That's great company, so if anyone needs any jet skis or anything like that, be sure to check him out.
And now, just before we let you go, obviously there's a little bit of a break before round 5. What do you do with that time off? You start thinking about and prepping for round 5, or you give yourself some time off first?
Fortunately enough, we've got the E-Series for the next 6 weeks, so busy. But that still gives us a leg up actually to develop the setup come enduro time, because we will be racing on those tracks, so it won't be completely wasted time. So hopefully we can get a setup dialed when we come enduro time.
Well, all the best, mate. Stellar performance tonight, something to be pretty proud of. But thanks very much. We're looking forward to seeing you for the next round of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational.
Thanks, guys.
There you go, Jake. Jared just put on an absolute stellar effort today, and Mate, it was all in the setup, and his teammate Kostecki did just as incredible job as he did, fighting his way through the field.
Didn't he? What? He did a tremendous drive. Poor qualifying, but it didn't matter, did it, Brody? You just drove through the field. What a run that you had, and what a move. I'm just going to start off with the move at the end. That was, it was anything else going through your head, but I'm just going to dive at 3 wide and make this work.
Yeah, it was. We were pretty lucky. We, Jared and I had some really good cars, and the guys from SSR did a really good job. And really poor qualifying performance from myself, so had to do some work to get back through the field. But yeah, it was a clean start, which was pretty rare for Monza turn 1. So I was pretty fortunate to get through all that, and just decided to save fuel the first stint, and then sort of come out in that battle for P2, and was racing those guys pretty hard, and luckily the engine was really good, so yeah, was able to pull off that move, and had a really good race with both Ethans.
It looked like you did, and tell us about, was it just every stint you looked like you just picked off a couple of people every now and then? Was that just the goal? Obviously poor qualifying, but you can put that behind you once the race starts and you get through that lap 1. Was it just a matter of just picking off as many as you could each stint and then put yourself in that position?
Yeah, to be honest, we were actually so much faster than the rest of the field. It was, kind of surprising. I got a bit of damage in the first stint. I think Dylan Rubb was trying to let me by, and we sort of just misjudged where I was going. So, yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. In the first stint, the car wasn't driving too well, but I was, still able to keep pace or even catch the cars in front while saving fuel. So, made a pretty easy second stint, and it was a pretty exciting race for myself, coming from 10th.
Yeah, made an exciting race for us watching as well, because you were lighting it up and passing as many cars as you could during each of your stints. But obviously 6-week break before our next round, but like Jared said, you guys have got the Supercars E Series, so how do you guys now switch your mindset to that? Obviously it's going to be so different with shorter races and everything like that. Is it just coming natural to you guys?
Yeah, we've sort of had a really good run since this series has started, and I think Jared's only lost 2 races, so to finish first and second at Red Bull Ring, and finish first and second here again, it's really exciting and promising going into the Supercars E Series, and it's pretty much the same as this. It's a very, very professional series, just like this is, so it should be exciting going to that, and the ball's definitely rolling, so we'll see what happens.
It'll be good to see you when you come back here for the next round of the championship for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. But anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go, Kostecki?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone at SSR for putting in some work. I was a bit busy racing cars on the weekend, so they were able to put in a bit of effort into the setup, and Jared as well is always full of pointers, and just all the partners on the car, Erebus and Boost Mobile, and all the partners that support me in real life, they follow me on here, so yeah, it's pretty cool.
That it is, and it's awesome to have you in the championship, but congratulations on driving through the field and coming home with another 1-2 for Boost Mobile Racing, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, and that was Brody Kostecki with one of the drives and the move of the race, but coming home in P number 3, Sam, and you're stood with him, is Ethan Grigol.
Ethan, what a race. I mean, those dying stages of that battle between yourself, Ethan Warren, and Kostecki, that was brilliant. And tell us how it all unfolded from your seat and how you think your night played out for you.
Yeah, I can tell you it certainly had my heart rate up a bit. It's been a while since I've been able to fight at the front, and we've had pretty bad luck through this series so far. So, to be honest, I'm quite happy that we've come off with a clean one, and let alone in a podium position, so it's just bloody awesome. So, we put a lot of work in this week to try and make the car fast at Monza, knowing that it was going to be a scorching hot track, and it seemed like we were pretty good in the race, and it was just a battle of trying to go at the right time. We had a lot of fuel saving in the first stint, and then we tried to go hard and burn up some tires a bit, and then everyone fell back, and it was just some crazy racing there, and it was some good strategy involved.
I was going to touch on that because obviously everyone's idea of a great race at the end of the day is obviously to get the win, but I think you'd be pretty happy with your result. You said it plays out differently throughout the race. Obviously your game plans never always go to the way they should, but how crucial was looking after those tires throughout these stints?
Yeah, like I think the first stint was really crucial on to looking after tyres, because we're sort of bottled up behind Madison. I think we definitely had better pace, but there's no point in passing on a track where everyone's just drafting. So it was best to save fuel and save tyres just to try and push that stint out as long as we could. And that allowed us to have a shorter run on the next two sets, which pretty much set up the end run to actually go a bit harder. But the tyre wear actually ended up being quite good. You just got to be very tentative on throttle and managed to hold them together. Unlike a race I did about a month ago where I managed to blow a tyre, so that wasn't fun.
And how about we're just watching the last corner now with you and Warren. Like, how much did you think you had you were in trouble there? It looks like, I don't know if Warren, he surely didn't run out of fuel, but yeah, it looked like it was going to be a close drag race right to the end.
Yeah, look, the three of us there, it seemed we had some wildly different setups. The Boost mobile cars looked very, very fast in a straight line, but they were quite taily coming out of the corners. Ethan Warren just had mega mid-corner pace, but had no straight line, and I was somewhere smack bam in the middle. So I sort of knew if I could hold on to the draft of Kostecki, it would keep me out of arm's reach, and if I just defend the inside of the last corner, then, you know, as much more grip that you have, you're never going to be able to go around the outside there. So he managed to hold on for third, which was awesome.
Mate, brilliant run. Coming into the round, did you sort of expect to be a podium or race winner contender?
To be honest, the fact that there's no pre-qualifying, you have no idea of times. So I have no idea when we come into the round. You open up practice, you do a few laps, and you get a read straight away. So I wasn't feeling as comfortable in the car here as I was at Austria, but obviously that doesn't matter. The car was quick, and I managed to get a decent qualifying out of it thanks to awesome teamwork by the guys in ERT. So yeah.
Well done, mate. Great to see the Logitech G Supercar on the podium. Before we let you go, is there anyone else you want to give a shout out to?
I'll just thank all the boys over at ERT for putting all the time in like they do every week. And of course, our sponsors on the car, Logitech G and Harvey Norman.
Mate, all the best. Now it's preparation for, you got a little bit of time off now for the next one. So what are your plans now in the little break before round 5?
Yeah, luckily there's a fair bit of time off. We're coming out of the real life racing break, so I'm getting back into the XL. We're testing up at Winton in a couple of weeks, and then going to Sandown for the state rounds. So so that's all going to kick off pretty quick. So this little break, it's a much needed one. I'll continue to do laps through officials and all that, just keep myself sharp. But we'll come back strong and try and fight for some more podiums in the next one.
Well, all the best, mate. Congratulations on a great run tonight, and we'll catch up with you for round 5.
Cheers to that, boys.
There you go, Jake. What a round, mate. We saw some great racing, good strategy, and Monza didn't disappoint, did it?
Monza definitely didn't disappoint. What a round that was in this lap 1 carnage, but we didn't have any of it. It was clean and was green the entire way through, and what a race. And I think you got to give a hats off to Jared Filsell for that drive. That was tremendous, I think, from just the entire race. He did what he had to do, like he said, blew the tyres off it at the start, which didn't really look like he did. Broke the toe, and then led what he needed to.
Yeah, great run. I'm already looking forward to the next round. Obviously, we check out the calendar. We finished off with Monza. We head to Spa now, but a little bit of a break. So this will be good. It'll give these guys a bit of time to sort of think about strategy. Obviously, people have got real world commitments, and there's E-Series to think about and all the rest of it. But can't wait to head to Spa. That's going to be an absolute ripper for round number 5.
Yeah, go to Stavelot in Belgium for round number 5 of the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational at Spa. And that will be the August the 31st. We hope to see you there. We can't wait to get back and underway, but enjoy our short little 6-week break, and we'll see you then. And hopefully we can have some outstanding action like we did today here at Monza. Thank you and goodbye.
Well, this series just keeps delivering. We get so many messages of support in what we do, and we get flooded with questions. So thank you everyone for your interest in the series. With the Supercars E-Series coming up, we now get a little bit of a break. So you can catch us next time on the 31st of August when we head up to Spa for the halfway mark of the season. In the meantime though, keep a lookout on our pages for all the up-to-date news and stories from the series. I'm Priya Richards, and you've been watching the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series.